All right, so we should be live now.
Jesse's out.
As Jessi bails.
That's great.
Hi.
For anyone who's in here right now, we are currently we're going to wait a couple minutes. Normally we have like the intro video and that kind of stuff. We are going to kill a little bit of time, let people kind of trickle into the stream, and then we're going to cover Full Gear. But I might as well introduce the people we have on the show today. We always have Jessi Davin, who it's her channel, obviously. I'm really bad with the directions on this. Yeah, you nailed it.
I had to switch.
You nailed it.
Well, I was with the translator. It was
There you
my hands.
And we have Jamie Kilstein. And I'll probably reiterate this more when more people get in here. But the idea is that if Jessi needs to take any time off during her maternity and all that stuff, Jamie, you might be seeing Jamie more often here on this channel too. So this is kind of like an introduction to Jamie on the stream, and then also we're obviously going to talk about Full Gear. So, Jamie, how you been, man? The last time I talked to you was about not even a week ago.
Yeah, I hope I don't blow it by talking how much I love the retribution angle for the whole hour. That's my plan. I really see it going somewhere, you guys. I'm great. I'm really good. I got Full Gear really hyped me about one of the reasons I'm doing a big move. I'm moving to Texas, and partly it's to train with Thunder Rosa and do more wrestling. And right when I wanted to like chicken shit out and not go, fucking Full Gear came on, and I was like, I love wrestling so much. And so we're going to Austin. So that's what's new here.
Everyone's going to Austin.
I know. Well, what's so funny is because I'm known for being a comedian and certainly not a elderly wrestler. Everyone goes, "Oh, you're moving to Austin because that's where Rogan's going," and I was like, "What? No, I'm going." Yeah, and I'm like, no, that would be logical. I'm like, I'm going for indie wrestling superstar Thunder Rosa to drive an hour and a half to San Antonio to train as a professional wrestler. And Joe Rogan happens to also be there, even though he's in my field and like the biggest podcaster in the world. But I'm going for that.
And by the way, not that he's one to brag, but Jamie Kilstein has been on that show a couple times himself. So he's actually an alumni of the Joe Rogan podcast. A much different human being since those days.
Oh my God. So much, guys. If you want to follow my tragic tale, the Joe Rogan trilogy is for you.
I put a link to your Patreon and your podcast in the description of the video.
Did you, Jessi?
Yes.
Oh, and I just want to say, while we're doing formalities, you two are legitimately two of my favorite people in the world, and I've had moments of like dire loneliness and despair, they say, by myself in Arizona, and finding you guys and refinding wrestling and being able to talk to people who are so smart and so funny and so sweet about wrestling has been a fucking literal lifesaver for me. So thank you guys as well.
Thank you for being so open to like having no fear and being like, hey, wrestling, cool. Let's find like-minded people, and being able to do it takes a lot of balls. It really does.
Well, it's so huge. And like, I think Steph and I probably talked about this on the podcast, but there's such a punk rock ethos to wrestling that I think people don't really talk about, because so many of us started our obsession with wrestling as kids. So it's easy to be embarrassed or think that it's still childlike because we started watching when we were children. But when you go to like an indie wrestling show, especially, or AEW is cultivating this as well, it's like, no. This is a bunch of fucking cool, creative, weirdo outcasts, just like if you went to a punk rock show, just like if you went to like a whatever. And yeah, I mean, it really has helped me a lot, for sure.
Good. And wrestling gatekeeping. I feel like it's like gatekeeping. Like, oh, you're a wrestling fan? Well, what happened in 1997 at SummerSlam? Like, you know what I mean? It's like
right. I don't know. Yeah. I
like it now.
Totally. That's like when you try to bond with someone about a band. This happens every time I go to a fucking indie record store. No one hates music more than indie record store employees. It's very bizarre, where you're just like so excited about the album you're purchasing, and they're like, oh, well, I only listen to one Radiohead B-side taped in Germany out of Tom York's asshole. And you're like, come on, man. Just let's talk about how much we like music. And that's what Stefan and I talked about on his last podcast. I was like, I don't give a fuck about AEW versus WWE versus like, I want to watch good wrestling. And even when the writing is shitty, even when people are checking out of Raw, like poor Stefan did yesterday, I'm like, I am rooting for it to be good. I want redemption or retribution to be good. I want I just want to enjoy it. I don't want to turn into that bitter person who's just angrily live tweeting how much they hate it. And I'm like, bro, go. The Office is on Comedy Central. Just go watch that. Like, if it's hurting you, like go watch something else.
Yeah. The Office is a great show, by the way.
It's so good. It's
one of the best ever. By the way, Jamie, Steven, not Stefan. Spelled that way.
Oh my God. Oh, you know what's so funny too is I wanted to use your name a couple times on your podcast and I got nervous about it.
Yeah, I do that. I do the same thing, dude. I'm literally because it's literally, it's spelled like Stefan. Like I rarely correct anybody because I'm like, that's how it's spelled. You know what I mean?
I'm so glad you did though, because I got so confident. I did it twice incorrectly. And because it feels like we're all hanging out. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to tell my friend, I'm going to call him by his fucking name. And then it was wrong.
Well, I can't. You get my daughter's name wrong all the time.
I call her Charlotte instead of Scarlett because we're fucking talking about wrestling.
Sounds like it.
And I'm so used to saying Charlotte Flair, like Charlotte Flair. So I say Scarlett, and it just throws me off. But
that's funny.
But yeah, I do feel bad though when I miss Scarlett's name because it does make me feel
all right.
bad.
My parents do it too.
That's just a passive aggressive move on your parents' part.
Well, wait till they have two. Wait till they're not two Scarletts.
Oh my God.
They have two. Yeah.
That's right. If it makes you feel better, I think my dad still pretends I'm not a comedian and I went to college.
Oh, hey, but I think being a comedian is cool. College is kind of fading away, really.
Yeah, I owe zero.
My degree's useless.
I don't owe any money. I don't owe money to the old shitty.
Other than obviously being an alumni of the Ohio State University, that is very valuable. But
is that why you're so into football? Is that the thing?
No, my parents both went to Ohio State. My dad's from Ohio, so like I was born a Buckeye, basically. So
got it. It's so funny. Yeah. I talk such a big game about like we're all nerds in a community and we enjoy wrestling together. And then every time you start tweeting about another sport, I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Get that fuck out of there.
That was the thing about Full Gear for me. And I think it honestly, it goes to show how good of a pay-per-view it was because like I am the worst to watch Ohio State football with, by the way. Like I'm horrible. I yell, I scream, I use bad words. I am just the absolute worst.
I'm the worst because I wouldn't know what's happening. So you're the second
worst.
More
fun. Yeah. That's more fun. That kind of takes you out of it, what you need. Sometimes, at least I need.
No, that's a great point.
Yeah. So so I was really into this game because Ohio State decided to like just take a dump the last half, the second half, and just like was being awful. But I was still able to pay attention to Full Gear, and I was still able to get the storylines, and I was still able to get what was going on, and I was still transfixed on what was happening. That's how good of a pay-per-view it was.
Yeah.
If I can like watch an Ohio State football game and Full Gear and know exactly what's going on in Full Gear, like that's saying something.
Your videos were great. I just got excited. I wasn't actually because I gave GC. I'm gonna mispronounce her name too, so we're even. I don't feel bad. I sent her when it looked like you were watching football and not watching AEW. I sent the Kenny Omega gif that you use. Jessi, you use that Kenny Omega gif like Picasso, like a fucking artist, like Van Gogh uses paint. The way you pull out that gif, it makes me happier than anything. So when I had the opportunity to send it to you because I thought you were choosing football, I was like, yes. But then I found out you were also watching Full Gear, and I was like, wow, not as funny. But I was still excited.
I sent you the video evidence.
Oh, it came up like 2 seconds later. Yeah.
Yes.
So I see some people in the chat right now. I want to address one question real quick or something that someone just said about the video game. Peter Davies says the console game for AEW is with Ukes. If that's true, that's fucking awesome because that's the company that made all the N64 games that everyone still loves. And that's what people have been wanting out of the wrestling game is that exact company to be involved. So that's really great news for anyone who's a fan of AEW and a fan of wrestling video games. That's a great sign.
I don't know anything about video games, but I've been talking. Aubrey Edwards was we were texting about it. Just about how like it's gonna be fucking everyone who's it's gonna be a bit it's gonna be fucking awesome. It's gonna be fucking awesome.
They need to do that too because everyone stopped. Like I know I didn't buy WWE 2K20. I barely played 2K19, and before that,
I made fun of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, everyone did. It was like the glitchiest, like most unplayable game there was apparently. Like the game keeps getting progressively worse over the years, which is just wild to me. When the technology keeps getting better and the game keeps getting worse, so AEW fans are like stoked. Like, okay, you know what? We're done. We don't even like the WWE product for the most part anymore. And at least we had the video, and at least we had the video games. Now it's like, well, the video games suck. So AEW is about to be hitting a double whammy where it's like the show rules and the video game might be better. Like that's huge.
And then when they can go international again with like those UK numbers that came out, I just had a visceral flashback feeling to, because I was like, what was the last wrestling video game I played? And I believe it was WWF Superstars, which was Nintendo.
Yeah, Nintendo or Genesis. It was that generation.
Yeah. Just I just remember these little like I had a little pixelated like Razor Ramon who would like wobble and just clank, hit you with a chair, and then wobble back.
Yes, and they all had the same moves, and like the pin was all the same thing where they just like laid across them, and
just draped.
Yeah, exactly.
I love your cat.
Oh, thank you. She missed me. I've been gone. I was telling y'all what happened. My husband, I've had to quarantine for my husband for non-pandemic reasons.
So funny.
And so she's very happy. She's about to be my scarf. I'm trying not to show her butt.
We can say publicly what's happening. You're quarantining because of your Young Bucks FTR argument. So you're just you're punishing him and you're quarantining from him.
That's right. He was so mad.
That's right. I called back. Fucking Twitter joke you did.
Yeah.
Because your husband was mad that FTR won over the Young Bucks. Or sorry, lost to the Young Bucks.
Yeah, he was really mad because he loves FTR.
That was a great match.
They almost ran us over in Jacksonville.
FTR did?
Yes.
Were they like, this is proper tag team wrestling as they fucking sped away?
We were staying in the same hotel as them, right? Really? No flips, no fists, just cars and tires.
Just old school manslaughter.
Say yeah.
Yeah. Are you okay?
Say yeah.
No, yeah, they almost ran us over because they were backing up, and we were trying to cross the street to get in our car to go to Dynamite or All Out. I think it was Dynamite. And I was like,
How did they react? Do you remember?
We were embarrassed. You want more chocolate? Okay, hold on. Just give me a second. I was so embarrassed because my husband likes to freak out, and I just try to be cool.
Yeah.
I was just like, it's okay. And I just kept walking. I was like, it's okay. I almost killed him. It's okay.
I do that sometimes where I sat next to Samuel L. Jackson on a plane once. Mm-hmm. And by sat next to Samuel L. Jackson, I mean I was one seat removed because I'm convinced Samuel L. Jackson bought. I just need to cut my story off because it's like a bad bit where I just throughout this podcast, I just want more humans and animals to slowly be crawling on Jessi. It's like it starts with like a cat, and then there's like a child, and then I just want like other animals to like slowly cover her. So I sat next to Samuel L. Jackson on a plane, and I was like, I cannot say anything to Samuel L. Jackson because everyone says it, especially on a plane. You know, I'm not gonna curse, but every person
you can curse, you can say whatever. Charlotte can't hear you. She doesn't have the headphones.
No, it was for the cat.
She's good.
For the cat.
And everyone's gonna make a snakes on a plane joke, and I was like, be cool, and I sat silently next to Samuel L. Jackson for like it wasn't a long flight, but like 2-hour flight, and we land, and then I went up to him on my exit, and I go, hey man, I wanted to say I'm a big fan, but I didn't want to say it on the plane because then you would have thought the whole time like this guy's gonna bother me. So I'm gonna say it now, and then before you respond, I'm gonna fucking walk away. And I made him laugh, and he just goes right on, brother. And like, and then I just left.
Yes,
it was the best. But like with wrestlers, I'm not I'm not cool. I've been friends and done shows with some of the biggest celebrities in the world, and I'm usually pretty cool, but I love wrestling so much. I was taping a sketch down at Extreme Couture in Vegas. Yep. And again, I've met many famous UFC fighters. I've sparred with very famous UFC fighters. I've become friends with them. I wasn't even looking around because I'm like, I don't care what fighters are here. And then suddenly I was like, is that fucking Jon Moxley? Yeah. Like running sprints? And I had no idea. And so I text like all my comedy dork friends. I don't text any wrestlers, but I text like Sam Roberts and I text Ron Funches. And I go, I think I'm standing in front of Jon Moxley. I don't know what to do. Do I say hi to Jon Moxley? Is Jon Moxley nice? Have you met Jon Moxley? And all of them are like, oh no, I texted Barnett too. And Barnett's like, he likes metal. And I was like, that doesn't help. And so, which is like, that's like now I like to imagine that's the only way Josh Barnett responds to texts. Do they like metal? And so I said nothing. Like he could have been, there was a role. He could have been in this sketch. I could have been like, hey, do you want to do this sketch? I could have taken a picture. I could have just even said I'm a good fan. He literally went to exit. Didn't look mean or anything. Like he was just looked at me. And for no reason at all, I said, I'm sorry, sir. And I backed up. I wasn't even in his way. I just panicked and I apologized to Jon Moxley for no reason. And then he walked out and that's it. Nothing.
Yeah.
I said nothing.
I know how that feels, man. Like I've told the story on this podcast before. I don't know if I've ever told you this, Jamie. I think Jessi, I've talked about this with where, because I've like interviewed all these wrestlers and fighters and stuff. And like, I still get kind of starstruck, you know, because I'm like such a big fan for such a long time, but I'm fairly numb to it. At least like I can kind of keep my cool. The one time I didn't do that was with Eric Bischoff. Like I met him.
Really?
I met him not that long. This was like a couple years ago. And because I grew up such a huge WCW fan from Atlanta, Georgia, like this guy was like my god growing up, right? Like he was in charge of the company that I cared about more than anything in the world. And I meet him and like same kind of thing, dude. I just totally freeze up. I'm just standing in front of him and he's like, hey, and I like put my hand out to shake his hand. He shakes my hand and I'm just like, and then I start doing like the I'm not worthy bow at him. I didn't know what to do.
Just panic.
And just complete panic. And then he's like, okay, man, cool. And then like walked away. And then he's standing at the beer stand. It's just me and him.
No.
And I'm right behind him. And I'm reaching to touch his shoulder to be like, yo, bro, let me grab you a Coors Light. Like it was weird a second ago. Let me at least buy you a beer so I can like feel better about myself. And I'm in the middle of like reaching for his shoulder. The fucking music for the show hits to start. So he turns around to like get ready. I'm just like hand like going towards
nightmare.
Him. He just looked at me right in the eyes and was just like, what are you doing? And I was just like, and I just like went and got my beer. I just didn't even answer. I'm just like, this is so it happens to all of us, man. It doesn't matter like where you get to, who you talk to. There's just still gonna be those people.
One day when this is the biggest wrestling podcast in the world and you have Eric Bischoff on and you get to tell him that story, it's all worth it. I think about that sometimes. I'm like, oh, when I do something really dope with Mox down the line, whether it's in wrestling, whether he's on the podcast, like I get to tell him that story where I, for no reason, apologized to him and then just like walked away.
It reminds me of Superbad. You've seen the movie Superbad? Like when he's
my favorite scene. Yes.
Yeah, like it's it says the time and just like keeps walking away from that girl.
It's so good. It's so good. It's so good.
It's awesome. Well, we have more people who've trickled in since the start of the show. Thank y'all for joining us. We're going to be doing a full gear review here in a second, and we're going to go match by match. As always, super chats and donations, super important for a show like this because it'll get your questions answered. Anything you want us to read out on air, we'll read out. If it's even non-related to AEW Full Gear, we will still answer any question you have. So if there is something you want to talk about from Raw last night or any other company, I mean, I follow Impact Wrestling, the Indies. I'm wearing a AJ Gray t-shirt. You want to talk about Indies, whatever, we'll talk about anything you want to. The super chats work the same as they always have. Donation link should be in the description below, and it should work the same as it always does. Only difference being with our layout today, you may not see your question on the screen, but we will for sure still address it for you. And it helps the show as it always does.
I also just noticed the comments. I was in a different thing. So what's up, everybody?
Yes, we got some loyal fans in the chat. Or I don't like to call them fans, but loyal viewers, I guess you'd say.
Yeah.
Help support the show out.
Disciples.
Okay, Seth Rollins.
Oh yeah. That angle is going to go. I'm telling you, even if Seth Rollins goes to Impact and would be like, oh my God, this is amazing. Seth Rollins is in Impact. The announcer at Impact would be like, and joining him, the Mysterio family.
Yeah.
You'd be like, damn it. No.
It's like a nightmare. It's like my sleep paralysis demon.
I love that you're having cool dreams of like hanging with Seth Rollins at a bar and suddenly like the Mysterio slowly trickle in.
eye for an eye, right? Yeah, Jesse, fucking, you're sitting at the bar and he comes up behind you and starts trying to fucking gouge your eyes out.
We got someone who saw my little video. I like the moment when Thunder Rosa open hand slapped Jamie. She sure did. Here's a fun fact for anyone who saw that sketch. Some behind the scenes is we did that in one take because I was like, I'm not going to be able to get slapped. Like if I broke and we had to do that again, that slap hurt so bad that literally I just told her, I go, okay, I'm going to say this sentence. You just cut me off and just hit me. I didn't know the chop was coming. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I just know I was getting hit. And Thunder Rosa, right before we did it, because I was editing the video and I forgot she said this, she just goes, I'm so sorry for what's about to happen, or something like that. And then just smacked me so hard. And people were like, wow, Jamie sells really well for like a non-wrestler. It's like, because I was hurt. It hurt. It's what happened.
Hell yeah. She's awesome. And she was a part of the show too, like very briefly. Like she made an appearance after the Sheeta and Nala match, right? That she came out.
Dope.
Thunder Rosa. So
she's the best.
Yeah, she's great. I really do. I've said this before and I stand by it. I think that Thunder Rosa is better than every woman that AEW currently has on their roster. Like I think she's the most valuable person they could be putting on their show right now as far as on the female side.
I was so glad that she made an appearance because she should be. And the it's so funny when she was like training me, I marked out for places. I didn't just mark out for her, where she was like, this is what I learned in Japan. And I was like, and then she'd be like, this is what I learned in Mexico. And I was like, and I think that that's one of the reasons she's so good, to your point, is because she's trained all these different places and she's so open-minded. And also she was asking me questions about jiu-jitsu or about striking. And like when you can be at that high level without having an ego and being like, hey, I still want to learn, on top of her storytelling, on top of her character, where like it's so good.
Yeah, it's great too, because like you have an awesome perspective of like you're seeing like her school, and because people are talking about that online right now, like that she has this school and she's running like her little promotion, and so she's got a lot going on. And I saw people in the chat saying she's with NWA till next year. I'm seeing that also, but the NWA has been very open about letting their talent wrestle elsewhere, like, and even letting people out of their contracts. Probably the best example earlier this year, James Storm said that he was going to sign with the WWE and he was supposed to debut the night after WrestleMania. That all changed because of the pandemic, but NWA had given him the blessing, like, we're going to let you out of the contract so you can go to WWE. Because like, why they don't want to be those guys who are like holding people back from doing what they want to do. And I think that their relationship with AEW is really, really solid. I think it's smart for everybody involved.
Speaking of relationships, there was like an Impact kind of thing going on too.
With Impact and AEW,
what's going on with that?
What was that?
Yeah,
who knows?
Don Callis, who is a part owner of Impact Wrestling, was on commentary during the show for a full year. So yeah, I mean, he's Jericho's best friend since like teenage years, and he's really close with Kenny Omega. They're all Winnipeg guys. So, part of me wants to be like, well, it's just a friend helping out a friend and getting a little extra cross promotion. But another part of me is like, because I think Impact, I tweeted about it yesterday during Raw. Like Impact's been putting on consistently better shows than Raw, in my opinion, and like nobody's paying any attention. But maybe people will pay more attention if they're involved with AEW more often. I think it would be really beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, if they could start doing New Japan crossovers, Impact crossovers, I mean, that's also not like you want to become a different monopoly, even though like, I guess you can only really have one monopoly, but like that is sort of a really great way to take out the monopoly, where it's like, hey, let's all join forces instead of fighting all the time. Let's all help out each other. I mean, this goes back to my sort of like socialisty stance earlier, but it's like, yeah, man, like join forces, give us the best product. Like, I mean, that first Thunder Rosa match on AEW like stole the show. And I think a lot of people were like, who's that? And then the fact that she could walk out to such a pop and such a huge online reaction in this, was it like a prelim match almost? It was still on the buy-in, right?
Yeah, the NWA Women's title match was on the pre-show. Yeah.
And the fact that she came out not being in the organization after only having one match on a pay-per-view a couple months ago and got that reaction, and the fact that they were still they were telling a story. I mean, shit, like we need more storytelling in the women's division in AEW in general. It's weird that the one like storyline they handled were like NWA people.
Yeah, well, it's even stranger because Allison K, who challenged for the NWA title, recently left the NWA. Like she was signed to the NWA, is no longer under contract to NWA, and then got an NWA women's title shot after she was out of contract against Serena Deeb on AEW. Like it's very confusing, but I will say this. I like Serena Deeb a lot. Like, I think she's fine as the NWA champion. Like, I like Thunder Rosa better, but I think
was Serena the one? Was she the one who was the trainer at the Performance Center, or am I thinking of somebody else?
No, I think you're thinking of I'm thinking of her indies. What was? Oh my God! Someone in the chat's gonna know. I know exactly what you're talking. I know. I can see how you get those confused though, because they do
leave it to them. Okay, cool.
And I don't know why that name is, but what I'd like to see is Thunder Rosa going for the AEW Women's Championship anyways, and then they can figure out the NWA stuff because that's not really up to them at the end of the day too. Like Billy Corrigan and all them are taking care of all that. Well, speaking of that, like I mean that was the first match on the show, Serena Deeb versus Allison K. I figure what we'll probably do today is all kind of like go through the match. Like I'll bring up each match and give you just a quick thought on it. Then we'll go to Jamie, and then on the next one I'll go to Jessi first. But everyone will get their opinion out there. We'll just kind of switch around who goes first, kind of thing.
Okay, cool.
We're not used to doing the 3 people at a time, so we got to get that figured out.
Don't you fucking pin this on me?
It's all on Jamie. It's all Jamie's fault. Yeah, we totally didn't invite Jamie here because we didn't want him, right? Well, but yeah, I mean, we've already talked about it a little bit. Jamie, what were your thoughts on the Serena Deeb and Allison K match? And do you think Deeb is the right person to win that one?
I mean, I'm so biased, where I'm like, Thunder Rosa, take all the belts. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know the logistics, but I don't see dramatic NWA stuff happening on AEW's roster. That's the only reason I'm kind of like, because I think NWA is just going to want it for themselves. So I kind of saw it as not a stomp match or not like a squash match. Like it was good. But I think the main highlight of that when it comes to the storytelling aspect was the Thunder Rosa run-in at the end. But yeah, I mean, it was just a solid like technical match. Like I enjoyed the match much, but I'm like, I think we all sort of didn't see like the NWA title changing hands on the AEW pre-show.
True. Jessi, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And it's kind of like a free publicity for NWA too. Like, oh, hey, look at us, look at what we've got. And it's kind of, I just was happy to see another women's match because I know that AEW, even though it was an NWA match, the thing people are most critical about AEW with is their women's division. And so, yeah.
Jessi, can I actually ask you your thought on that? Well, first of all, shout out. Madge says 3-person panel is great. What it's weird because especially with like Brandy and like AEW being super inclusive when it comes to, I mean, like the way they hype Sunny Kiss, the way they let people like Big Swole represent Black Lives Matter, like they're really open and progressive, and like they have their finger on the pulse when it comes to that was the other white guy having a spasm when I was talking about inclusivity, just started like sneezing and coughing. But like why are they fucking, why do you think with such a company that has like their finger on the pulse with like all that is kind of blowing it with the women's storytelling and stuff like that?
I don't know. I think it's really hard because I feel like AEW's kind of main hype, and as a woman, I'm okay with this. I can't speak for other women, but I'm totally okay with a lot of the hype going towards, like, you know, the young buck, the elite, you know, because it's
They're
all
so
elite
good.
wrestling.
Yeah.
Sure. And I feel like they want to kind of establish themselves on television. I mean, it's very difficult to get all these storylines in anyway, 1 hour a week. And I mean, you've seen them try different things, like with Brandy Rhodes and the whole Nightmare Collective kind of thing. It kind of failed.
Yeah.
They've got something good going with Britt Baker right now.
Yeah.
Chris Statlander was fantastic, and then she got injured.
Yeah.
You know, Riho was great, but then the pandemic happened, so she kind of had to leave.
See,
so
this is what
weakness.
No, this is what I wanted to hear, because like it makes so much sense where it sounds like you're essentially saying they're trying, it's just either things haven't hit or there have been circumstances that it just didn't fucking work, but not that they're purposely like burying the female talent.
Yeah, no, I don't feel like they're purposely taking digs at the women's division, because honestly, I would just rather not have them on television than put them on television in a trash storyline that's pretty much like demeaning towards women, or like just really stupid, you know?
Yep. That totally makes sense, because then it almost looks like even like more like it's like patronizing instead of, you know?
Don't force it, you know? Don't force it. Just let it happen. It will.
I like that.
You know?
Yeah, I have kind of a different opinion on that, because I think that it has to do with Brandy and Kenny are the ones booking the women's division. Like Brandy, I don't think really knows what's best for booking. Like I just don't. Like we saw it with the Nightmare Collective, it didn't work. Everything she's done really hasn't worked up to this point. And Kenny is one of the best wrestlers in the world. You'll never hear me say anything bad about Kenny Omega in the ring. I think he's literally one of the best wrestlers in my entire lifetime. Like, he's awesome, but he's weird. He's very weird. Like he wrestled blow up dolls and children before he came to the WWE. Before he came to AEW. Like, so it isn't like that crazy for me to think that like he has some like wacky ideas that just aren't really landing.
Right.
But a big part of it is just they also don't have like the deepest roster of women to work with. Totally. So when you get someone like Thunder Rosa, if they wind up getting, I know Tessa Blanchard's people have their opinions of her, but she's probably the best female wrestler in the entire world. So if AEW gets her, that's a huge signing. There's more people within the NWA and Impact. If Impact Wrestling ever lets go to Jordan Grace, I talk about that all the time. I think Jordan Grace would be humongous for AEW.
That would be awesome. That would be great.
So I think it's a mixture of just not having the right talent and not having the right people booking it. Now that can change. Like you can be the worst booker in the world if you have the best talent in the world. Like if they can just go out there, have awesome matches, and it doesn't really matter what the story is if the matches are awesome. But when you keep getting to a situation where we're doing like Shida versus Nyla Rose over and over again, and the match is never good, like I'll flat out say it, because we're going to talk about that match eventually anyway. That's the only match on this whole show that I saw people pretty much unanimously saying just was the worst match of the show by far. Like, yeah, and they weren't saying that about Deeb and Allison K, by the way. It isn't like a female wrestling thing. It's like it's a talent thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between like some fucking drunk frat boy being like, take off your clothes, and it just being kind of a boring match. I get in my progressive liberal brain so many times if I'm not enjoying a female match where I'm like, all right, well, I mean,
it's unconscious bias.
Yeah, where I'm like, I should be enjoying this, and I would like to overthrow the patriarchy, but also like, I'm gonna go get a snack right now because I'm not
equality.
Yeah. Well, but I saw a lot of no, but I guess it was mainly female wrestlers talking about how they liked that match. But I definitely found myself kind of spacing out again. And then I was actually going to rewatch that match today because I want to rematch or I want to rewatch the Bucks match and Kenny and Paige. And I was like, maybe I missed something in the female match, and I was like being a tool by checking out. But it sounds like maybe I was right.
No, and well, the thing too is we mentioned the possible AEW Impact Wrestling relationship. That would be humongous for AEW's women division because the Knockouts division, they have so much talent. I just mentioned Jordan Grace, their champion Sue Young is really good. Gianna Perrazzo is really good. They have John Morrison's wife, Taya Valkyrie. She's good. Like they have, and it was hilarious last night because I watched the beginning of Raw where Randy Orton made fun of Morrison for leaving for the minor leagues, and he said it right to his face in the ring. And I'm just sitting here going, yeah, the company he's talking about his wife works in right now. like that's so cold.
Can we talk about, because I know there's a lot of trash in the WWE. So the phase that I checked out of for the WWE, so like I came up on like I watched some of the older stuff like Brett and Owen and Shawn and Razor ladder match WrestleMania 10. But the where I was obsessed was the two dudes with attitudes era. That's what I call it. And then the Attitude Era, obviously. But I missed the rise of Cena and Orton and Batista. I didn't watch that. And I have been obsessed with Randy Orton lately. I think he is so good on the mic. He is so good at like making you like him while being such a badass like bad guy, like heel at the same time. The little subtleties he does while he has to remain stoic and badass and whatever, but you can still tell he's kind of freaking out about the Fiend, but he's not showing it, but he's showing it by not showing it, I think is superb. And then yesterday, when he got to be like funny as well and like everything. I love him.
Yeah. He's really, it's wild because he's like putting it all. I mean, he's always been really good, but like he's the best he's ever been right now when it's like 20 years in, which is like
crazy,
really impressive.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think you were talking about, it just came to me. I think you're talking about Sarah Del Rey was now Sarah. I think her real name Sarah Amato or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
But she's the one who is the PC trainer. She was a really good indie wrestler. And just never made it in the WWE, but she was like universally like loved on the indies. And it worked out pretty well for her. Like she kind of got out of, I think she went to the WWE initially to try to be an in-ring wrestler and then just realized like, well, there's no women really training other women. And like, they really liked her. And I think they were like, hey, you don't have to take bumps anymore if you don't want to. We'll pay you money to train other people and make them better. And it worked out really well for her.
Well, and that happens in jiu-jitsu and MMA too. There are some people who like they train really well, but when they compete, they don't do it as well, or they teach really well. But same deal. And it's like, hey man, like that's your purpose. Cool. You get to teach. And in teaching, it's like, and teaching will make you better too. Because you're like breaking down all the technicalities, and like it takes a really special person to be able to like teach, especially wrestling. There's so much to it.
Yes.
Kind of like gymnastics. I used to coach gymnastics a little bit. It's kind of the same thing. It's so quick and such a delicate art.
Yes.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to be fair too, like there are plenty of sports that like I just wasn't very good at, but I was pretty good at like kind of seeing the field, or like in baseball, for instance. I wasn't the best baseball player, but I was pretty good at coaching baseball. Like I got a coaching minor, and it was like, because like, I kind of can sit back and see the whole field. And as a mind for like that kind of stuff, I'm way better than actually being on the field, like being able to see everything and like, I noticed that person didn't move that direction, and like maybe if they did, that would, so in like wrestling, obviously I've never wrestled, but like I know a lot about pro wrestling. I'm probably better as like on that side of it. That all being said, the pay-per-view starts off with Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page. Omega gets the win. I thought it was arguably the best match of the night. Personally, I have a different one as chosen, but it was, I will not argue anyone being like, this was the best match. I think it's pretty clearly the best opening match we've had on a pay-per-view for any company in like a while. Jessi, you're up first on this one. And I know you're obviously a huge Omega fan, and what do you think about this one? What do you think about Omega winning, and what do you think about the match itself?
Whenever Kenny Omega goes back to like his New Japan roots, whenever a match has a New Japan feel and it involves Kenny Omega, I'm gonna love it. Like this match immediately had a New Japan feel to it. It was delicate yet stern storytelling in a match. And one thing I always loved about Kenny Omega matches in New Japan was I was always waiting for him to try and hit that one-winged angel. One-winged angel. Keep trying to hit it. So when he finally hits it, it's like, yes. And it's like the best feeling in the world. This match was fantastic.
And by the way, nobody kicks out of the one-winged angel. Like it's never been kicked out of, which is like protecting a finisher like that is so rare nowadays.
Yes.
Yeah. When did that start, by the way? When did everyone start kicking out of finishers? Like
the time that you were out, it was like attitude adjustment, kick out, Batista bomb, kick out. It was the time that you missed is when most of this stuff started.
All of the problems I have with wrestling happened when I left.
Me too.
Jessi, can I ask you a question? When you say, because I think this is really cool the way you're describing it, when you say a match has a New Japan feel, what do you specifically mean by that?
For me, it's kind of a slow build, but not a slow build in a bad way. It's kind
like
of
actual
a gentle progression. Yeah, like a gentle progression. Like you start out Act 1, Act 2, Act 3.
Yeah.
And it's not all over the place. It doesn't have to go all out with bells and whistles. It's not concrete structure, but it's structured. If that makes any sense. There's a flow to it. And because I feel like, and this isn't a knock on WWE, but like a lot of times WWE matches, we go like right to finishers, we go right to like these near falls, and it's like, oh, okay. And sometimes you get kind of trained to get into this like adrenaline hype, and then it's a problem for the matches following it because then you're expecting this to happen every single time, and your brain's been conditioned for this like little dopamine hit of like a near fall, and it doesn't happen. Then you're like, oh, well, why am I not enjoying this match? The thing that comes to mind for me was AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like that was a good match, but just everything before it was so quick and just intense that it just felt out of place.
Right. And can you imagine Zack Sabre Jr. having to fight like an hour into Raw? Everyone just be like, boo.
Oh my God. It would be awful. But I really did. I loved this match. I loved it as an opener. For me, especially as an Ohio State fan, I needed something to like calm my ass down and just take me out of it. And I was able to, and this is huge for AEW. I was able to get my focus off of the game. I missed an entire series of downs for Ohio State, which is a huge deal. So I loved it. I think this leads to Hangman and the Young Bucks teaming together again, and I think Kenny just goes full heel.
Yeah, it's first of all, shout out to Throwback who said much love, just woke up after having a headache, and you guys keep killing it, so thank you, and go drink water. I'm so old, but drink water. Same deal. Hey, do you guys know, Steven, how this match was kind of on the shorter side, right? I feel like so I think it was so good, and actually I think having it shorter is why it was so good, because the intensity, even during the slower story, like building moments, like that Jess was talking about, like the intensity, it was when it hit every shot. Because that's another thing about when you tell a story is every shot matters, every clothesline matter, every forearm shot, the high spots, whatever. But like there is purpose behind even the lock, behind the littlest moves. There's like purpose and intention and heat behind it, which I think is rare. I wonder though, if we've been so conditioned, like the cool kids, the AEW indie kids, to be like longer matches are good matches, that I wonder if this match was technically longer, that would give people permission to say this is the best match of the night. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'll put on my cool kid shades to answer that.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll kill two birds with one stone here too, because Dylan's wrestling stuff with the super chat. Similar question. So this is perfect. Thank you, Dylan. Big supporter of the show. And I'm going to take these off because it's actually a little dark in here today. Says an absolutely incredible match between Page and Omega, and the best way to open the show. so good they could have gone another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And same with what Jamie was saying. So thank you, Dylan. And I'm going to answer both of y'all. I think so. A couple things. And I've talked about this. I know me and Jessi have talked about it. I may have talked about it with you on my show as well, Jamie. I can't remember, but it's all kind of, it's kind of a long answer, but it all makes sense. I think that where we're all heading is Omega's going to beat Moxley for the title. And I think Hangman is going to beat Omega, but it's going to be in like a year. It might be at Full Gear next year. So I think that's what the long-term story is. Now, that's why I think, though, that this match went a little bit shorter than what people think, is because the next time they wrestle, it's going to be like it's going to be like a 45-minute, hour-long world title match.
Love it.
Iron Man match.
Love this.
Yeah. So that's what I think is where it's all eventually.
Can you imagine if they did do an Iron Man? Has there been an Iron Man match besides Sean and Brett?
They have time limits.
Yeah, there's been plenty of Iron Man matches, Jamie, but never in AEW.
Oh my God, that would be so incredible. And I love. Ready? Are you guys ready to lose all of your viewers? I love that they're doing a Hangman angle. That's the same. That's similar to Alana angle, which is just like the so sad, like being ignored, being left behind. Guys, I am such a mark for this Lana angle happening in the WWE right now, and I know they're gonna botch the ending. I know they're gonna botch it. Yeah, because it's like it's just her being forgotten, and she keeps on trying. She keeps on going out there, and also like Shayna is hilarious. She is so funny. On top of being like so legitimately tough and scary. But anyway, I love this angle. I mean, I almost got bummed out. Steven, I actually almost texted you or DM'd you. I got bummed out when I saw the package they put together for Hangman versus Kenny. With like wasn't there like some 80s song about
I want to no I'm glad that you're bringing this up though, because so I said when I saw that package, because they aired it I think on Dynamite before they aired it on I keep calling it Double or on Full Gear. When I saw it, I watched Dynamite with a buddy of mine, Mike Hughes. Shout out to Mike. He's here like every week to watch wrestling with me. And I turned to him and I was like, this is fucking weak. Like this song is so weak. Like this, and he was like, no, it's supposed to be funny. It's like supposed to be ironic. Like, and I was like, oh, I didn't get that at all out of that. Like, so I think half the people thought it was just really, really cheesy, and the other half thought it was supposed to be cheesy, so it was funny. Yes. But I was like, I'm just gonna straight say it like this because there's really no way around it. My brother watches AEW with us all the time too, but he's not a huge wrestling fan. He he knows more than most would just because of how much I watch wrestling, and he comes over and sees it. But his first instinct when he saw this whole story, and this wasn't being funny. This isn't trying to be. You got to take this as face value, like not maliciously. He thought it was a storyline between two gay lovers. Was what he thought. Aww. Is what he thought Omega versus Hangman was. Especially when he saw that package, he was like, "Is this like a gay storyline? Like, is it like because like I was
what makes it great? I mean, have you ever watched? Have you ever watched the montage of, I can't find it, but like that essentially recaps the Golden Lovers?
Right, which basically was a gay lover storyline, like at the root of it, right?
Yeah, and like I honestly think that male friendships don't get explored enough. And actually, if I'm to
like friends.
Right, like, but people love it. They freak out about the hug because in a weird way, and wrestling does this in general, it gives guys permission to still be tough because it's like they're fighting, but to still show emotion. Oh my God, they were enemies, but he's going to come and be a hero and he's going to save him. And oh my God, like this guy's getting like kicked out of his group or like this, like, and like, I think a lot of guys don't get to express like fucking emotions, and this is a story of two best friends. Like I tell my guy best friends that I love them and there's nothing gay about it, but it's almost like when you put it over the top like that, it's so funny that people go, is this gay? It's like, no, dude, it's like two dudes who love each other, especially, by the way, fighters. I mean, I hug my guy fighter friend so much, and wrestling's even more like this because it's like we're going through hell together, you know? And so, like, for me, I don't see it as a comedy bit, but when I see that song, I go, okay, so the song was a comedy choice. But then if you embrace the irony and the cheesiness of it and you actually watch the story, you go, oh, this is also kind of sad.
See, that's how I saw it. I thought it was like an emotional, I didn't get any funny out of it. I was like, oh, this is like, that's how I saw it, was what you were just saying, the latter.
Yeah. But I loved it. Yeah. I mean, I love these angles. I love the stories of like friendships gone awry, but you know they still love each other. Like, I mean, the handshakes in the beginning, the way they reacted when they came out with the Bucks, like there was so many little things of like, oh, are they still trying to be friends? And just like almost no, like it's really real. It's not just like boom, chair shot, heel turn, or what, like, and to your, and I think that's great. And then the match was just so intense, and like just as a technical match, I want to rewatch it and just like learn as much as humanly possible.
Yeah, so good from top to bottom. Because, like, by the way, I want to just like reiterate, like, me saying that it wasn't a comedy, it doesn't mean that it was bad. It was just like I was a little just confused of like what they were trying to, like, what. But at the end of the day, it's a story that's been going on since being the Elite. I mean, we're talking 3, 4, 5 years back that this is all like really, if you really get down to the root of it, I mean, this is like a long-term story that they're pulling off between Omega and Hangman, which I think is awesome. Yeah. And the matches are going to keep being awesome. And now we're in a position where Hangman had said before the match, like, if I don't beat Kenny Omega and get a shot at the world title, like, all I have is this alcohol. Like, all I've got is this, and that's where he's at now. And I think that's where the redemption storyline starts. I think over the next year, he gets really, really down for the next couple months. Like, he's just a miserable fucking loner alcoholic. And then just slowly but surely wins some matches, builds his way back up. And eventually, like, we'll be like a year into a Kenny Omega title reign at that point. We get the big rematch. That's where Hangman finally gets the win. And then that also opens it up too, because with Hangman as the champion, and once again, we're talking like a year out. Think about where guys like Darby and Jungle Boy and Sammy Guevara and all these guys are going to be. That's the main event scene a year from now.
Yes. How do you guys see the Kenny heel turn going? Because it was interesting that if you're going to go by cliche storytelling, Hangman did the more I'm going to turn heel moves, but you can still see it in Kenny that even when he went to the handshake, you're like, what the fuck is going on? What's happening? This isn't real. And a Hangman, like, almost, again, like I said, it was realistic. It wasn't, I'm not going to shake your hand because I'm turning heel. It was just like, I'm losing everything. I hate this. I'm miserable. So how do you see it going full heel with Omega?
I think, once again, this comes to long-term storytelling, because for the longest time, it looked like Hangman was going to be the heel, but you weren't really sure. Right. And now I think it's pretty clear that he will ultimately be the babyface when this all happens again. And my prediction is Kenny Omega costs the Young Bucks the tag team titles, helps FTR, and that's where, and the three of them are like a heel stable, Omega and FTR.
Whoa, interesting.
Totally do that. That's completely
very, very interesting. I didn't even think about that.
And then Hangman will get reunited with the Bucks, because it's like, see, Kenny fucked y'all over too. I know what that's like. And like, we never hated each other. Like, he was the reason we all hated each other. We didn't realize it at the time.
Ooh, do you think before their match they'll do like it's a Dynamite-ish match, but you do a 6-man and you get Moxley and the Bucks together?
That'd be cool. I mean, I'm down with that. I think
FTR and Kenny.
Well, and I think Jericho is going to be turning babyface at some point. Jericho and the Bucks have done some stuff 6-man before, and that'll be cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good.
So much cool stuff could happen. Get the women out of there. That was a callback to anyone who's new. I don't hate women.
No. Jessi, if you want to go for the next super chat and address that.
Yes. All right. So Peter Davies with another super chat. Thank you so much, Peter. We really, really appreciate it. Seriously, thank you so much. and this is something that was really cool. This is a beautiful camera shot too. Hangman just in background after the Bucks match in the tunnel was such a beautiful shot. I loved it. Just one little shot told so much, and that I completely agree with Peter. That is such subtle, beautiful storytelling.
I just
that
got
AEW does
chills
so
when Peter
well.
Yep.
And they never panned in on him or anything. You just kind of saw that he was there, which I liked a lot.
Like made a big deal out of it.
And then if you think of if you put that with the storytelling of like the Bucks finally winning the belts and that like their best friend doesn't even feel comfortable coming all the way out. Peter, I'm so glad you brought that up. And I don't even get the money super chat thing yet. So this is a genuine compliment coming from me. I'm getting no money. Yeah, what a great fucking point. That's beautiful.
And also, I do want to throw this out there because people in the chat have corrected me. There was a 30-minute Iron Man match between Omega and Pac. Not an hour long, but to be technically speaking, I was incorrect. That there has been an Iron Man match.
Whenever I think Iron Man, I only think 60 because there are so many 30-minute matches.
That's right. I remember that. I felt like Pac was in that. Was he on the show?
I don't know if they showed a video package or if that was just on Dynamite where they showed the video.
It was on
yeah. So that's interesting too, because what I'd like to see there is Pat coming back and he's because they have the whole story there still where like Pac was with the Lucha Brothers and now the Lucha Brothers are with Kingston, the Butcher and the Blade and the Bunny. But I want to see Pat come back. Maybe we even see him on Dynamite this week. I mean, Phoenix and Penta are wrestling each other this Wednesday again. Maybe we see Pat come out and like bring them back to him as the Death Triangle, get him away from Kingston.
Ooh.
That'd be tight. Kingston, the Butcher, and the Blade versus Pac and the Lucha Brothers. That'd be an awesome feud.
So spicy.
Now I want to jump so much to what you guys think of Kingston and what's going to happen with that. But I'll let you do your.
Gotta wait. I don't have to stay tuned.
Yeah, we'll wait on that.
Anyone who listens to my podcast, it's a little less organized. It's a little kind of like we'll find our way back eventually. You can probably tell. All right, cool, sick.
Perfect. And thank you again, Peter, for that super chat. Very much appreciated.
That was sincerely cool. Yeah.
Up next, we had Orange Cassidy defeating John Silver. There was a lot of comedy here, but not as much comedy as I expected, to be honest. And I thought it was just a pretty solid match altogether. Orange Cassidy gets the win. Jamie, any thoughts on the match?
No, it was great. I mean, I said this on your podcast. I think that what's so cool about Orange Cassidy's gimmick is you inherently will have storytelling. That kind of storytelling in the match, you're kind of forced to do it where it's like, okay, he's being cool, hands in pockets, whatever. It's infuriating the heel, like then like he gets cut off, so now he has to like fight a little bit, and like the dynamics of his match are really cool. And it's not just and I think because he's such a good wrestler on top of it, it's not just a gimmick where after the first 3 minutes of him trying to put his hands in his pockets, like they keep adding to it. Oh my god, I didn't say this. Did you guys notice the one time, when he does the baby kicks and then he super kicks the shin, he slaps the leg?
Oh no, it's the best. Yeah, he does that almost every time. It's the best.
So fucking funny. It is the first time I noticed that he slaps the leg too. I'm like, this is magical. I thought it was great. I was very late to the liking John Silver. I finally think I do, because some of the being the elite bits, I think the first time I really paid attention to him, it was a little hacky, and like he always like breaks. Like,
it's very over the top, and then like you said, they'll catch him laughing on camera.
Yeah, but like I actually really liked him in this match. I really liked him. I really liked his reactions, the over-the-top reactions to Orange Cassidy putting the hands in the pocket. Almost make the most sense for a heel to do. I mean, the Pac Orange Cassidy was like my fucking favorite, but the just having two people with diametrically opposed comedy personas and just slow hands up. No, it was so good. And then we also got to see, I think the reason it wasn't a super comedy cheesy match, and these are my favorite matches of Orange Cassidy's, the ones that are funny but still have really good wrestling. By the way, this is also why I like the cheesy song and the Omega thing, where it's like a little comedy sometimes can enhance drama if done well, as weird as that sounds. So like then them having a really good wrestling match, it actually made the comedy pop more, and then the comedy made the wrestling pop more. Where like I think this is probably the best John Silver looked as a wrestler as well. So those are my thoughts.
Very cool. What do you think, Jesse? Anything to add to that? You're on mute.
Matt.
Sorry, my daughter was like, "Just be done.
No,
just be done already." No.
The tone, I thought she was giving you advice and was like, "Just be you, just like,
oh,
just be you, Mom."
Oh, she is wise beyond her years, but yeah, she's great. But this match, me and Steven had talked about it before. We thought this was going to be like purely comedy.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I went in going for. Like, oh, okay, little break, little haha break. But it wasn't. I mean, at the beginning, it kind of started out the whole comedy bit. And I really liked how you could tell, and this is the match I could really notice. You could tell AEW allowed a lot more fans in because it was a lot louder. And that is something that Orange Cassidy's gimmick has been missing, like severely, is just the reaction when he does those little baby kicks. Yeah. Like that makes his whole character just so much better. And I mean, shout out to Orange Cassidy for being able to do this without the crowd. I mean, that's just amazing. But you're right. And I feel like John Silver is actually a really good wrestler too. So it was nice to kind of see them both be able to showcase both their comedic side and their actual wrestling side. And it was fun. It was fun. It was just a fun match. It didn't piss me off. Didn't make me angry. It was just good.
Yeah. I was going to say, Steven, at the end of our podcast, I was going to say something about that I was like bummed out with Dynamite. And I think Jesse actually just pinned it, where I have been okay with the lack of crowd noise until they tried to do a bunch of run-ins on Dynamite and with no crowd reaction to run-ins, like when Orange Cassidy came in to like save the day and then kind of like slowly backed away. It was kind of a bummer. And actually the run-ins in general in AEW, I don't know why. Maybe you do just need the crowd for run-ins. They have seemed sloppy, where there have been many run-ins in like different matches where someone runs in and then they just kind of like slowly fade off into the background. It's very bizarre, where, you know, I think we probably all feel this way, like when we were kids. But even as adults, like when it was, you know, oh, the Undertaker's here, the Undertaker, or it was always Austin, like running in to like save everybody, or, you know, whatever, especially like a new heel turned babyface when they do a run in to save someone. That was like the biggest thing ever. So when I see like shitty kind of half-ass, doesn't go anywhere run-ins and the crowd's not into it, like my heart hurts.
Yeah. And that kind of echoes like something I've talked about before, where like a very, very similar line of thinking here, very similar scenario where like, I don't think the WWE should do the Royal Rumble this year until there's fans, like, because for that same reason, like, because imagine the countdown and someone coming out and it being like a surprise. Like, imagine if Edge came back this past year.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. And there was no crowd. Like, that would be, you can't do it. It ruins the whole thing. Now certain things, like, as a wrestling fan, I like that they're doing what they can, because I don't want the shows just to end. Similar to the UFC, like, they figured out a way to like keep me entertained throughout the whole pandemic. And like, I love that they're running shows for sure. But there are certain types of shows similar in AEW. Another perfect example is the blood and guts match that they keep pushing back. It's clear that they want fans there for that. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been pushing it back so much.
NXT, I kind of like the plexiglass illegal fight ring vibe.
Yeah,
because like there's oh, it's great. Like there's when this happened in indie matches and old PWG, and this actually happens at wrestling schools. This happened when I trained with Kendrick and at Dog Pound with Jazz and Rodney and Thunder Rosa, where when people start banging on the ring, and there's
like Raw Underground.
Yeah, there's something again. Damn it. There's something again very like punk rock about like dunk, 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 and I just realized the connection. That's kind of what's happening with the plexiglass at NXT. And especially if it's like the younger wrestlers, like, oh, you just feel so cool when like something dope's happening or great exchanges happen. You just dun, 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 dun. So I think that adds to NXT for sure. And AEW doesn't, I mean, it's cool. It's hard because we know the wrestlers too, you know, NXT, you're kind of blurring it out. Like, I love seeing the wrestlers out there supporting each other and seeing, like, you know, the Gun Club like cheering for matches. Like, it's dope, but it's still kind of like, oh, that's Billy Gunn. Instead of just like the illusion that it's just this crowd of, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I will say, I think that whole setup that they have, what do they call it? Not the Thunderdome, but what do they call the
something wrestling center, CWC.
Capital Wrestling. I think that thing is put together. That's awesome. That setup they have.
Yeah.
For given the circumstances, like that's a pretty cool. It's almost like a fight pit, like you said, Jamie. It's like this underground fight pit kind of feel. Moving on to this show, we had Darby Allin defeating Cody Rhodes for the TNT Championship. I have a very strong bias towards Cody Rhodes. I love the guy, but I did call pre-show. I called Darby Allin to win this match, and I mean, I thought this was a fucking awesome match. I mean, this was great, and it put this is how you get someone over. Like, this is what you do. Like, he lost the first time they wrestled. Well, they went to a draw the first time they wrestled. He lost the second time, and he beats him the third time. And now it's all even, and everyone looks good. Cody doesn't look like a jobber or like he's not going to keep being in the main event and stuff. It made Darby Allin, it established him on that same level. I thought all of this was awesome. Jamie, you're up first on this one. What are your thoughts on this match and Darby Allin getting the win and the new champion?
Yeah, I'm the same. I feel the same way about Cody, first of all. If Cody was in front of me and I wanted to buy him a beer, I would definitely do your Bischoff move and just like go to pet him gently. Yeah, there's something so fucking cool about that guy. Well, this is exactly what we talked about, Steven, on the podcast, which is we were complaining about the WWE not being able to put people over or doing it in like the most like horrible ways possible. And I was saying how, you know, the way to do it is have just like incredible vets do exactly this. I mean, Cody lost nothing and has completely validated Orange Cassidy and Darby as a main eventer in the last couple weeks. I mean, establishing this title essentially as what the Intercontinental title used to be back when titles meant something in the WWE. And that's exactly what happened. My only issue with it is I was a huge fan of Darby when I would go watch him wrestle in the indies. I was like, this guy's just like a spectacular athlete. But I always kind of wondered, like, what can you do with this character to like really make him pop? Like
and you know this from seeing him in person, he's very small. Like, he's a very small person. Like,
he's like my size. Yeah. And like I cut you off before you were like so small. Like, what a pussy.
Well, no. Well, because I'm like right at 6 feet, like 5'11", 6 feet, depending on what shoes I'm wearing. I've been around Darby before, and like he's small around me, and I'm like, that was my only fear for him because I knew he had the talent, but I didn't know with it because when I saw him, AEW didn't exist yet. So like that was his only real big opportunity was WWE. And I was really worried about that.
Well, and even in the indies, he was fighting guys like Stunt and my friend Eli Everfly, like and Jungle Boy. So there was kind of this like small dude circuit in the Los Angeles indie scene.
Joey Janela.
Yep. But what I was going to say is I've been worried about Darby from a storytelling angle because I'm like, oh, I guess the buildup to this was really just Darby brooding in shitty seats, like watching like Cody fight. But then someone on Twitter pointed out that the kind of similar to Hangman, that the juxtaposition between Cody coming out with this like flashy entrance and with family, and then Darby coming out like by himself actually did sort of tell a story. And that's when I was like, okay, that's how you do Darby, is you have him just be this like society doesn't get him loner. I just hate fucking broody promos. Like, again, Retribution is so funny on Twitter that I wish that their angle was just them backstage on Twitter being hilarious. But like when they have to put on their like broody voice and Mustafa Ali is like they're all talking a little lower. It's like it's very silly. And so I hope they can do some good storytelling with Darby, because as an athlete and a performer, I'm thrilled that he has the belt, but I'm just a little scared it can be a little one-note storytelling, and like I'm curious to see what they do, because I bet he can fucking act. He's a good-looking guy. Like Priscilla, his girlfriend, her tweet about it
together.
Oh, I don't know, but at the very least, she had like this very sweet tweet about it that was like super ride or die. Like I really liked them together on the indie scene. So I don't know, man. I don't know what to do with him. What do you? But I was thrilled with the match, and Cody, seeming like he was going to turn heel with this Arn argument, with Arn wanting him to wrestle pure and with honor, and him kind of like doing these like douchey things, but then going full like, I am passing the torch to you, I'm giving you the belt. I thought that was wow. I had more thoughts on that match than I fucking thought I did.
Well, Jessi, what do you have to add to that? Like, what do you think, to answer Jamie's question? Like, where do you think this heads with Darby as a champion?
That's the big question, right? And as Jamie was talking, it kind of got me pondering, because to me, Darby Allin kind of is this, woe is me emo kid with a chip on his shoulder, punk rock. System has always been against me. I've always been wronged. But now he's the champion. Right. Now he's like a winner. So
it's Retribution signing a deal with Raw.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's but they had him on the car at the end with the skateboard that said like, I am TNT or whatever.
Face of TNT, yeah.
Face of TNT, that was it. And obviously TNT's Twitter said Darby Allin is our champion, which is a real nice touch. But it's interesting. It's going to be really weird to see him not in the stands, like ruminating and scouting. You know what I mean? He's got to be in the ring now defending that title.
I mean, having him do something like, I love Brody and Cody, but like if you want to have, again, loner, all odds against you, having Darby start to feud with Brody and the Dark Order could be kind of fucking intense.
Well, I feel like it's going to be Brian Cage.
Yeah.
And,
I forgot about
that.
Yeah.
I think that's going to hold us over for a second, because I don't think Brian Cage or Ricky Starks is going to beat Darby for that title. But I think that what I'm assuming is going to happen, at least for the short term, is that Cody and Darby will team up and try to fight off Team Taz. And eventually, I do see Cody turning heel. And I think, because like you mentioned, Jamie, he brings that whole entourage with him. He's got like this whole group of people, and he's been adding more wrestlers to that, not just family members.
Yeah.
Guys like Lee Johnson, who train out of the Nightmare Factory here in Atlanta.
Right.
Guys like Billy Gunn and Austin Gunn, he just recruited them. They're both in-ring wrestlers. And part of what I'm starting to think is, and this might be kind of far-fetched, but there's going to be people in the chat and that listen to this that probably already thinking what I'm about to say. Historically speaking, so if you had Cody, who's, because here's the other wrinkle to it. Cody can't challenge for the world title. So all he really has to do, the top thing he can do, is challenge for the TNT title.
Right.
So I imagine he'll get another chance at Darby at some point in the future.
Well, I was actually going to say him having a vicious heel turn on Darby is actually going to skyrocket Darby as a babyface as well.
Yes, I totally agree. And I think that because also, once again, they're 1-1-1 against each other. One draw, 1 win for Darby, 1 win for Cody. So it would make sense to have another match at some point. But if you have Cody and you have this whole Nightmare collective, the whole Nightmare family, you got Brandy, you got Arn, you got the Gun Club, you got Lee Johnson, you got Dustin Rhodes, QT Marshall, you got more and more, and Cody turns heel, and they all turn heel, and they're fighting Darby, and it's this whole group. Who's the one person in wrestling history that has a great track record taking on entire groups of people by himself? It's a man named Sting. And there's a lot of people that have been talking about Sting coming into the AEW. And there's a lot of similarities between Sting and Darby Allin. Up in the rafters as a character, Cody has said that Darby reminds him of a young Sting.
Oh, boy.
So I could see, I don't think Sting's going to come in and like wrestle and fight everyone off, but I could see, because AEW does great with like the veterans coming in and managing the young talent. I could totally see Sting being Darby Allin's manager and helping him fight off the whole Nightmare family.
That would be, I'm in. I'm so in. That's dope. All right. Thank you. I appreciate you.
That's where it goes from here.
Well, I mean, I could be totally fucking wrong about all that, by the way, guys.
Yeah. That's what's gonna happen.
I'm wrong about everything. It's all right.
Yeah.
And I get that there's gonna be people who don't want to see Sting in WWE. I get that, but the thing is, the way that they use the veterans, I think, is very good because it keeps them as a part of the show, but it's helping them spotlight the next generation of talent. Like Jake Roberts being with Lance Archer does not hurt Lance Archer. Like now, if Jake was going out there and it was all about Jake and Lance Archer was in the background and Lance was losing all of his matches versus only losing once all year, that's a different thing. So yeah, that's just a thought of mine. I'd like to see. I say I'd like to see. I think it would be cool because there would be a cool dynamic there. But it also is nice to see Darby as like a total loner. But then again, Sting is the only other loner, and Moxley. There's always going to be that loose relationship between Moxley and Darby Allin also. So I think that's going to play going forward too at some point. And I think that's also really cool that Moxley's the world champion and Darby's the TNT champion and they're allies, so they can help each other out.
Right. Without like having to align like specifically or feud or whatever.
Right. Because they're also
hand deal or something.
Right. Well, also they're totally down to fight each other too. Like they have this cool relationship where like they're totally down to scrap and want to find out who's the best between the two. But when it isn't them wrestling each other, they are down to help each other fight off other people.
It's great.
So yeah, I agree. I think it's great.
Very punk rock.
Yes. Moving on, we have Hikaru Shida defeating Nyla Rose to retain the AEW Women's Championship. Jessi, I'm going to give you first back-to-back on these because I accidentally messed up the order a second ago. So we're going to start with you on the Shida match, and then you'll get first on the Young Bucks match as well. So with the Shida Nyla Rose match, we already talked about it.
I fucking quit.
What? Well, you're gonna get the main event first, Jamie. So it'll work out.
All right. Fine.
So, and I kind of wanted it that way too. It kind of works out because you had brought up the Moxley and the Moxley and Kingston match already, Jamie. So that'll work out well.
Just to be clear, I give 0 fucks.
No, I know. I just
happy to be here.
Trying to be polite.
Yeah, you're sweet.
But so Shida and Nyla Rose, we already talked about this one a little bit. Of all the matches that I saw on the show, or as far as like the feedback I saw on social media, this one seemed to be everyone's least favorite match. I'm not going to sit here and like shit all over Nyla Rose. Like I just don't think I'm just personally don't think she's lived up to the hype of like what she's meant to be in the company. I think there are women who are strong, who do very similar style of wrestling to Nyla Rose that are just a lot better at it than she is. It's just a personal opinion. Shida, I think, is very, very good. But I think when you're in a position where Shida's having bad matches and it's only bad matches when she's wrestling Nyla Rose, I think it's pretty clear kind of what the issue is there. So that's just me personally. Jessi, what did you think about this match itself? And what do you think about Shida retaining the title?
I thought it was okay. I thought the one thing I did think that they did well in this match was their management of Vicky Guerrero as the manager. Kind of, she wasn't as the annoying excuse me kind of lady, you know what I mean? Usually it's just like, and we talked about this before on Dynamite, how she did her best kind of work so far as a manager on Dynamite. And here she was kind of there. She was the annoying heel manager and it worked fine. It wasn't like the whole excuse me thing, you know, it wasn't just annoying. So I was good with that. And then she got like knocked out and it was really funny. My dad was like, who's that? Did they hit an old lady? What happened? My dad was concerned.
I love when non-wrestling fans like walk in like at one of those moments. They're like, this is the people you're hanging out with?
Like, is she okay? I was like, yeah, she's part of it. I thought it was fine. I mean, the fact that it was my least favorite match on Full Gear is not a knock to that match at all. It's just that Full Gear was such a great show.
Sure.
So it's not an insult to say that. It was all right. It wasn't a disaster by any means, which, I mean, obviously, no. I mean, it's kind of sad that that's kind of what I'm gauging the women's matches in AEW on. Was it a complete disaster? But it was fine.
It didn't make me ashamed of my gender.
Yeah. It didn't make me embarrassed.
Yay.
It didn't make me like ashamed, and I think it made Sheeta look better. I think it made Sheeta look strong. The fact that she kind of got the win despite Nyla having Vicky Guerrero in her corner.
And the pull up too. I saw people talking about how they actually liked that. When I saw it at first, I was kind of like, no, she's huge. Fucking pin her. But like, I think it did kind of establish the strength she had, you know, especially because she went on to win.
Yeah, and I thought, I think Sheeta's so talented. I love her as champion. I think she should be champion for a while. I know we were talking about Chris Statlander coming back soon.
Yep.
I don't know when I know she tore ACL. I don't know. Like, it feels like it was yesterday, but it was like at the beginning of the year.
I'm hearing that it's going to be pretty soon. I think she's getting close to being ready.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And she can wrestle. And I've talked to Jessi about it before. I'm not huge on intergender wrestling, but Chris Statlander is really good at it. So like, if there is going to be any intergender type of stuff in AEW in the future, they have someone who can pull it off really well.
She's great.
Yeah.
I notice sometimes, and maybe I'm talking out of my ass, and maybe it's just this, but like when you don't know what to do with women's storytelling, you're like, have them fight a big lady. And then like sometimes like the writers will crap out when it's just a really big imposing person. It'll be the same with like imposing guys as well. Where they're like, that's the story. She's big. And you're like, oh, like, I feel like when you have, I don't know much about her as like an in-ring competitor, but when you have someone who maybe is like bigger and like not as skilled as someone like Grace or, whatever, you got to make the fucking storytelling good. And I do wonder, my hope is the spot they did at the end with Vicky and her about how it looked like Vicky was going to get laid out because she didn't lay her, like it almost seemed like Vicky had her under such control and she looked really sort of like heartbroken. Guys, can you tell I have so many dad issues that the stories I like the most are all about like sad, like loners who are like upset with it. But like, I think that, like that could be interesting but it's just, she does incredible. I want her to keep fighting Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, no, same here. That's kind of to my point is like, if it was Sheeta versus Thunder Rosa, I think we're talking about that along with like the rest of these and being like, it's hard to choose like the best match, second best match. So, cause like they'd all be good. There wouldn't be like this one glaring match of like, the whole show totally fucking ruled except for this one match. This wasn't very good. Like if it was Thunder Rosa with Sheeta, I'd imagine we'd be saying the entire card top to bottom fucking ruled. Now it didn't take a whole lot from the show. I mean, it was one match and it wasn't like the worst match in the world. It's just when you know that it can be better and you have the talent available to make it better. And you keep going because that's the other thing with Nyla, not to like just stick on her for so long, but the truth of the matter is this: since AEW started, and I could be wrong statistically, someone in the chat may be able to correct me on this, but like I feel like Nyla has had the most championship opportunities and everything of anyone. Like she's constantly in the mix of like either being the champion or getting championship opportunities. But it just never is really. Now her first match with Sheeta was all right. Like it was a pretty good match when Sheeta won the title. So I will give her credit there. Nyla Rose's match with Riho, I thought was really good when Riho won the title.
Yes, that was probably the best Nyla Rose match.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing. So it isn't one of those things where like every time Nyla wrestles, it's bad. That isn't the case. But you have like someone like Thunder Rosa who we keep going back to, but like that's a foolproof. Like that, it's going to be good. So that's just my personal opinion. But Sheeta keeps the title. I think that was the right move. I think Sheeta's the right champion right now. And I'd like to see either drop it to Thunder Rosa or maybe, like we mentioned, a returning Chris Statlander or maybe someone from the Indies or from elsewhere comes in. But for now, Sheeta as a champion, I think is the right move. Moving on, we have, in my opinion, the best match of the night. It was the Young Bucks defeating FTR to win the AEW World Tag Team titles. This match was so good. And you want to know what's even cooler about it? Similar to the Kenny Omega Hangman Page match, they could have went another 15 minutes and done a whole bunch more shit. And we're going to get that. It'll happen. This was just the first match between these two teams. It's only going to get better. The story is going to only get more interesting. Jesse's chomping in the bit, doing her CM Punk wrist rolls right now. Or Vanderlei Silva for the MMA fans.
Yeah.
Vanderlei Silva,
shit.
Jamie's in the house, so we'll
Good
do
reference.
MMA. But Jessi, go for it. What do you think about the Young Bucks winning, and what do you think about this match?
I'm glad the Young Bucks won because of the weird stip that we don't like. I was like, we can never challenge for it ever again.
Didn't need it.
For some reason, that made me think they were gonna lose. I don't know why, but
maybe because Cody did, yeah.
Or maybe just because it was like, it was just so unnecessary that I was like trying to figure out, like, oh, are they trying to?
Weird.
Yeah. Sorry. Anyway,
we all agree they didn't need.
Did not need it. Did not need it. This match had enough hype behind it. Okay, this damn match was so good. As someone who is a self-admitted non-wrestling historian, even I could appreciate this match for the homages that it gave for each decade of wrestling, of tag team wrestling. They did all the and I appreciated the announcers for like letting me know too, because I'm not a super nerd wrestling, but no offense, not saying that it's
what the fuck?
Yeah, like,
I'm not one of you fucking dorks in the chat.
Super wrestling nerd. I know nerd is not a bad word in this household because I'm a nerd. It was great.
Stephen. Sorry, I thought that would be the extra
Stephen?
fuck you is just to say his name wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, did he break his headphones? All right, keep going.
Yeah, no, did he break his headphones?
I think it's fine. I'll give him the thumbs up. Oh, wait, I did the camera wrong. There we go. All right, he's back.
Oh, yay. Okay, was that you?
No, I'm just fucking around that you were making fun of super new wrestling fans. I'm good.
No, I thought you broke your headphones.
No, that'd be great. I'm like, as a joke, I'm like, fuck you. Then all my shit just breaks.
You did the wrestler thing where like we got the bit that you were injured, but then you did one little nuance where I'm like, oh, he's either really selling well, like, oh shit, he broke the headphones. I mean,
oh my god,
this is real. It's a shoot. It's a shoot.
No, it was just the aux cable just popped out of the bottom of it. No, nothing serious. I was just being silly. I am gonna grab it. I'm gonna grab a drink though, real quick. But keep going.
Okay. Yeah. No, this
I didn't know
was
we
great.
could do that. I have to fucking pee the whole time. All right, keep going.
Yeah, go to the bathroom.
No, I'm not gonna leave you to talk about the best match by yourself.
It was so good. This match. Well, obviously, here's one thing I'll talk about right now.
Yeah.
Is I loved how they came out and it was almost like Celtics versus Lakers.
Yeah.
Like they had like the whole gear. And then afterwards, the Young Bucks had champions shirts made to look like the Lakers shirts. And they did the whole champagne celebration.
It was great.
Afterwards.
Yes.
That was such a fine touch.
Yes.
That just to the end of it, just getting that out of the way, that was just beautiful. Here's other than the homages to literally decades of tag team wrestling that happened throughout this match. Other than the incredible wrestling that we saw, I think my favorite thing was that the Young Bucks are known for Super Kick Party, right?
Yep.
FTR is known for no flips, just fists. So we have an injured Young Buck who cannot kick. And then in the middle of the match, we have FTR who cannot fist. But like they cannot punch.
Right.
No fisting, you know? And
oh my god, how did I not fucking see it? Yes.
So, and how does the match end? Because he's like, oh crap, because it ended with both the no kicks and the no punching. So what does FTR do? They decide to flip, and it cost them the match.
Yes.
And
they went back on their principles.
Yes, and that was it. And it was just, this was so good, and this was a match that had so much hype behind it, so much like excitement and build, and honestly, you know, and I go back again for some reason to Shinsuke and AJ in WrestleMania. We were all excited to see that. Like, yes, finally. And I think a lot of us were hesitant to that. We're like, I don't know if it's going to live up to the hype, and it didn't.
I was there live for that, by the way. Like, everyone around me was like, damn, that wasn't what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah. I don't think anyone had doubts about this match at all. And it delivered, and no one was surprised, and everyone was excited. If you did not like this match, just go away. Like, wrestling is not for you. Sorry. Go watch something else. This is not your cup of tea.
Jessi, once again, you fucking dorks.
Yeah.
Yes, like, for real. If you found something wrong with it, like, if you did not like this, you do not have a pulse.
I will nicely rephrase it. I'll be like the Obama translator in Key and Peele.
Oh, yes.
Which is what she's trying to say is maybe you should find joy in your life and not look to hate things that are clearly so beautiful. And when you open up your mind to see the beauty around you, you will live a more fulfilled life. This match was very good. Yeah.
You need to like rearrange your priorities in life.
Yeah. All right. We're getting a little mean again. Yeah, it was, I mean, everything, hearing Jessi describe it, my heart started to race again. We're like, that kind of storytelling is so, and you know what's really cool actually is when I interviewed Aubrey for the podcast and we were talking about AEW, we were talking about how the Bucks used to get so much shit for being like spot monkeys. And this match told such a story with these beautiful spots on top of it. You know, what I liked is that we knew it was going to be a good match. We knew they could tell a story, but there were so many stories within the stories that I didn't see coming. The homage to the tag teams I didn't see coming. But also what I was really nervous about is for the last couple weeks, they have been borderline overselling this leg injury. And I was like, all right, well, so fuck. It was going to be actually the only time I sort of doubted the match. And I go, right, it's going to be the classic tag team heels just working this fucking leg. And that's it. But instead, they were so like that happened. Obviously, it's going to happen. But it was so dynamic. The different ways they used the injury. They used the injury to he's doing moves he shouldn't be doing. They used the injury with, oh my God, why are they tagging the injured brother back in? They used the injury to have just because I don't want to mix it up. Who had the injury? Matt,
yeah.
Yeah. So then like Nick got to do the really heroic martial arts movie like 2-on-1. And then suddenly like Matt's back and then it brings him. And then injury be fucking damned. Just like Jess was saying how no hands, I guess I got to do a flip. Injury be damned. This is the only way I can finish. I'm going to do it anyway with the injury. And if this doesn't work, you could tell with that pin, if this doesn't work, I'm done. Like I'm just falling down. And like, that was really beautiful. And, you know I didn't see one person who was like psyched about this stipulation, but leading up to it, the stipulation was shitty, but now that I'm talking in the middle of my conversation, I'm realizing that I didn't know how emotional I would get seeing them win the titles, especially when Kenny and Hangman came out. That, not saying the stipulation added to it, but it was kind of this like, whoa, I didn't realize how much I wanted them to win the belts. And suddenly this sort of montage went on in my head of like them on trampolines and the formation of AEW. It was like this mini little ayahuasca trip watching them in the ring. And I was like, whoa, this is beautiful. But that only happened because there was such storytelling throughout the match as well.
Yeah, I mean, and y'all may have touched on it when I was going to grab the drink, but I mean, on top of all the storyline stuff, I mean, Young Bucks came out dressed like the Lakers. FTR was dressed up like
Jesse did.
Yeah, like Boston. I mean, it's like, and then Mad G 27NY points out, the DIY callback. I mean, just really cool stuff. And something that I thought was really interesting too is, the Young Bucks never hit the Meltzer driver in that match, which is their finishing move.
No,
and
they didn't.
They never hit more bang for your buck, never hit that move. Like mainly their finishing moves, they never hit during this match. So it leaves so much open. Yeah. Then now FTR hit their pile driver, their spike pile driver. But yeah, so there's still a lot left that these two teams can do together. And I think a rematch is going to be just absolutely incredible whenever that happens.
Yeah.
And we're going to wait on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it'll be even more interesting because I feel like by the time that happens, will we have, not extra members, but will we have more kind of storytelling with that because we have, Kenny and Hangman. So we have that whole dynamic going on behind the scenes. We have those kind of partnerships going on. It could even be better. Like,
yeah.
It's just gonna be so hard to top that though. It's just like, oh, so good.
It was. So that was fast, Jamie.
Yeah, that was like Rogan level. Had to pee this whole time. Oh my God, we're doing 3 hours sprint.
Yeah, we'll probably closer to 2 for us, I think.
Yeah, thank God. Fuck you, Elon Musk.
Right. Moving on, we had Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. Matt Hardy gets the win. It's an I almost called it ultimate deletion. It was the elite deletion. It went about 20 minutes long. Literally, my only knock with this was probably the length. Like, it probably could have been like 5-10 minutes shorter on like a show that's already long. It wasn't long in the same way that like Double or Nothing was long, where like you were there live for that, Jessi. And I know that
All Out.
Oh, sorry, All Out.
Long as hell.
Yeah, and I know that. Yeah, so I could only imagine. Like, so, but that being said, I thought the elite deletion match was pretty fun. Like, there's any people who disagree because of how cheesy this is. I love seeing Gangrel. Like, I'm such a mark for that kind of shit. Like why not Gangrel and the Hurricane? Like, I thought it was good. It was weird how they had like these mini matches in the match though, where it was like Proud and Powerful and Private Party and all them were like all wrestling also like to the side, which was kind of strange. But that all being said, Jamie, what do you think about this match? The cinematic match where Matt Hardy gets the win over Sammy Guevara.
Listen to me. None of you in the chat can bring this outside of this episode. I don't think I liked it.
Okay.
And look, listen to me. I don't know why. I was the biggest Hardy Boys fan. That was when I still think wrestling, I think I still thought wrestling was real. But like the Edge and Christian.
Wait, whoa. What?
Nice. Hold on a second.
Throw the headphones again. Oh, it's another shoot. I actually, when Gangrel, I didn't know people were shitting on that. When Shane and Gangrel showed up is when I got on board. Because I was like, okay, now I'm seeing what's happening. And I love both of them.
When I need to bring this up too, I don't mean to cut you off, but I need to bring this up because that was actually a continuation of a story that had started in the WWE where a masked man had kidnapped Hurricane Helms. And that was like the payoff to a WWE story on AEW TV.
Like, that's incredible. And that I was like so into. Someone tweeted, maybe it was Shane who tweeted about long-term storytelling. And I'm like, it was so funny and sweet. And like, I really like that. But in the beginning, okay, so this is where people are going to hate me. I was the biggest Hardy Boys fan, like Bailey wearing the Hardy Boys t-shirt in a crowd level. And now Jeff and Matt still doing like the angsty weird stuff, but as like fucking 40-year-olds. I can't. The only interview I liked with Matt recently was when he was like being serious after his concussion because he was just talking like a dude. And I was like, oh, this is great. But like every time they're like, I will end you, like, Jeff like doing that like in WWE, like it hurts because when I hear Jeff's music in the WWE, it still brings me back to days of old. But I can't do when they had to when he would like went to Walkie Talkie Private Party and then like then they cut away and then they cut back and like Private Party still didn't go, where I'm like, where did you guys park? You should have been like much closer to this. And then they had the mini match. I was like, it was that was so brutal. But then when Gangrel and then I could be like, okay, so now I'm like, I get what's happening. It was you with the fucking Paige Kenny trailer. I was like, okay, now I'm like in it. I see what I see what the fuck is happening. Fine. But I'm just like, it saddens me that I don't very much look forward to Jeff and Matt matches, really, but they're so hugely important. I would never tweet this. I would never say anything about it because they've done so much great stuff,
Yeah, I totally understand that. I actually feel a lot more that way towards Matt than I do Jeff. Mainly because I don't really know the reason, to be honest. Like, I feel like Matt isn't like the best fit for AEW. That's just me personally. Like, I'm not saying like, I'm by the way, I'm never the kind of person who thinks people should like lose their jobs. Like, I would like to see Matt Hardy helping out the young talent, maybe more behind the scenes, or maybe as more of a manager with Private Party, whatever they do with him. I don't like the idea of him beating Sammy Guevara in this match. Like, Sammy's one of your future guys. I mean, he's like going to be, like he, and I know there was the stuff outside the ring and all that, but at this point, I feel like we all have to kind of just move past all that. And like, if he fucks up again, he fucks up again, and that's the fucking end of it. But as of right now, we got to give him his chance like we do everyone else. And I think that he should have won this feud over Matt Hardy. I was really confused with the booking.
Unless they do kind of what we were talking about with Hangman, which is, okay, so he just had this like crazy loss. He's not in a good spot. What happens when he goes back to Dynamite? Oh, cool. It's MJF, the guy who makes fun of him. And now he's going to be this goodie too. Like, he's going to be Jericho's boy. And Sammy keeps getting shit on. And then that could turn to Sammy babyface, him fighting MJF, which will bring him up a little bit. Like, see how he promos with MJF. And do it that way. It could be kind of like just the beginning of like psychologically torturing him until he can sort of emerge as this new baby face.
I could totally see all that happening as well. I think that is kind of where we're heading with it. And like with the Jeff Hardy stuff, the thing with Jeff Hardy to me is like, I don't think people give him enough credit for now what he's doing right now. It's just I totally get where you're coming from with that. Like he was on Raw last night. I didn't even care that he was on the show. It's just like but I don't care about anything really happening with WWE to be fair. So like if Jeff Hardy was in AEW or if he was back in Impact or whatever it was, maybe I'd be more interested.
Yeah.
But he's at a level of like, it's one of those things like I'll put it this way. I was surprised when I was talking to other people who aren't even wrestling fans anymore that are around my age. And we're talking about like, they find out I like wrestling or whatever. I meet them through like a mutual friend or something. We're sitting around drinking beer and it's like, oh man, I remember this person or that person. The one name, I mean, you always hear Austin and The Rock and the NWO and that kind of stuff, but Jeff Hardy's name gets brought up a lot.
Yeah, it does.
And that's super impressive. I mean, he's a guy who's going to be a WWE Hall of Famer as a singles guy and as a tag team guy. He's going to be a multi-time. Yeah. And he fits really well in the WWE system because at this point in his career, he just comes out and does his greatest hits. He does like 3 moves and that's pretty much it. So it works out well. But I think the same thing with you, Jamie, is probably what's happening with me is like, I just don't care about like the product to begin with. So like, it just makes me not really care about Jeff Hardy, like by association.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's all, we'll see where this all heads. Matt Hardy gets the win. And yeah, I could totally see people not liking this match. I could see people loving this match. I can see people being indifferent about it. We're going to get a lot of different thoughts on that one. Up next, we had MJF defeating Chris Jericho to become a part of the Inner Circle. This match, I've seen a lot of people saying they didn't like this that much, but it also I think once again, it's just circumstantial. This show was just incredible. There was going to be some matches that just weren't as good as others. It's just going to happen.
And there was so much emotion behind the 2 best matches, or I mean, the 3. There was so much emotion behind Moxley. There was so much emotion behind, or Moxley and Kingston, behind the Bucks match, behind the Kenny match, that, there was great storytelling leading up to this, but it wasn't like the emotion behind the other ones. And I think we all knew MJF had to win because that's how you push the story forward, is having him in the Inner Circle.
Right, exactly. Jessi, you're up first on this one. What do you think about MJF getting the win? He's now part of the Inner Circle, gets that win over Jericho. And the way that it happened, by the way, was Wardlow distracted the ref. Hager threw the baseball bat to Jericho. I keep calling him Sammy. MJF pretended like he did the Eddie Guerrero.
This is what's gonna infuriate Sammy and make him go babyface. Is when someone calls him like, "Hey MJF," sorry, Sammy.
Yeah, I'm playing right into it.
Perfect.
But he does the old school Eddie Guerrero where he pretends to be hit by the bat. The referee sees it. He's like, "Whoa, you used the bat on MJF." And Jericho's standing there, and MJF rolls him up for the win. And shout out to Aubrey. We talked about her a lot, but it speaks a lot to her level of how good she is when Jericho is clearly requesting her to do his matches because she does almost all of his matches, and that's a big deal.
Do you know their Instagram thing where every time she posts, Jericho just posts the thumbs down emoji?
No, I gotta check that out.
So good. It's so good.
And MJF gets the roll up win after all that. So Jessi, your thoughts on MJF winning and his now being a part of the Inner Circle?
I totally expected this outcome. I think I wasn't sure they were going to get there, but I thought it was the perfect kind of MJF-ish kind of way. Didn't really get there on his own. And how more fitting that he won't have to do much more on his own after he joins the Inner Circle. I think this is kind of, and I think we've talked about this as well. I think this is kind of how Jericho turns babyface.
Yeah.
I think the Inner Circle turns on him. I think they swerve. I think right now you can tell there's kind of a displeasure in MJF joining the Inner Circle. But wow.
Nice.
Cool.
Awesome. They both said cool. Don't feel mad. It has your school on it. Look, like.
The Orange Cassidy.
But, yeah, I thought it was very Orange Cassidy. Like, that's your ribbon. Yes, but I thought it was fine, and I think the animosity towards Jericho from the Inner Circle and their displeasure with this whole stip to begin with, and Jericho being like pleased with MJF and kind of being happy with it in the end, will lead to that inevitable collapse of Jericho's leadership in the Inner Circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think, Jamie? Where do you think this heads?
Yeah, I mean, I like the match. I thought it was really good. Aubrey's so great. I'm that's not even just me being biased. Like her emotions and rage. I texted her when she at one point to MJF said, "Don't touch me." It sounded so real that I was just like, am I gonna have to fuck up MJF? Like it legitimately, like it was the injury thing. It was like, dude hobbles one more time on the ankle, and I go, is that real? Like I immediately texted her. I was like, girl, you can act. It was so good. The ending was so great with MJF. Like just the little pratfall fake hit with the bat. Then Aubrey's reaction was great. Yeah, it has been really interesting. Like when MJF tackled Jericho at the end in Dynamite, Jericho kind of like smiling and wanting that to happen. I think the first storyline we'll probably get is something with Sammy and MJF for sure. I think that'll be really interesting. I think that's Sammy's way to become babyface. I don't know if I see the Jericho babyface thing happening soon, especially because MJF and Jericho just fought. I think building up MJF to then build up a him and Sammy feud, I think is going to be the first move with breaking up the Inner Circle, because then you also, maybe something with Wardlow and Hager. I don't know, but the Jericho MJF dynamic together, I think it's just going to be too good and funny and like interesting that might extend for a little while before, because you don't want to have MJF fight Jericho again soon, especially if people weren't like psyched about it. And if MJF does break them up, it's like that's the match that has to happen. So I think right now let's have some inner turmoil in the Inner Circle and have Sammy break out as like babyface. Just he gets pushed too fucking far and then he fights MJF.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways we can go with this. I think that when AEW started, Jericho has talked about it in podcast since about how his first choice for the inner circle was MJF. Like initially, like when AEW started, he was like, "Oh, give me that guy. This is like, this guy's perfect."
Oh, that's
and it just worked out better the other way around, like how it played out. But I think that Jericho and MJF probably have a lot of ideas about what to do storyline wise for a while now.
Oh, you mean the two guys who went into a fucking Broadway number? You think they have more tricks up their sleeve?
Right,
yeah.
for real. And you alluded to it as well. I mean, they're already teasing Wardlow versus Jake Hager. I mean, you got Sammy and MJF don't get along. Hager and Wardlow don't get along.
It could be a cluster. It could be great.
Yes, I think at the end of the day, I don't know if MJF winds up like leading the inner circle, or he's the reason that the whole thing just breaks up. But I strongly believe, and here's the other thing too, it's very predictable, like long term, like MJF eventually being the reason it all blows up, Chris Jericho eventually becoming a babyface again, them having a match, like it's all predictable, but that's a good thing. Like if it's a good story, just do it. Yeah. Like,
and then it's what you can add to it, right? Like, we knew Kenny and Hangman were going to fight, even though there was a tournament. And Kenny even used that in a promo.
Yes.
He even used that in a promo. That was so brilliant, where he's like, oh, everyone thought this match was going to happen. He's like, I didn't. I thought Wardlow was going to take him out. And it was like, oh, Hangman's heart, the disrespect. He didn't even think he would. Oh, Jesus Christ. Like that hurt so bad. And same with the Bucks. Once that stipulation, you're like, well, I guess they have to become the champions or else they can never be the champ. Like, well, that would be a bummer. But it's like how you tell the story, these little like finesses you can put on it. How do you polish it? What are all of the bits and the promos and the infighting that they can do up until that happens? And like, that's how you make art. I mean, every movie is the hero's journey, essentially, right? Joseph Campbell talks about it, from like Star Wars to, it's these Westerns. But no one's like, oh, the good guy got the girl. No thanks. Like he saved his family. Boo. Like we want to see it play out the way that, we hope. We want the good guy to win. We want, these people to resolve their problems. We want these two people to fight. It's just, how do you do it without making it lame and hacky?
Exactly. And that's kind of, not to make this a WWE versus AEW thing, but that's kind of what pisses me off about the WWE is like they'll have a story that will totally make sense. And then for the sake of swerving people, they'll abandon what makes sense and then just make it make no sense at all. And then the fans get mad, and then they get mad at the fans for getting mad about it. And it's like, why don't you just do the story that made sense?
Well, that's why you can't even get your hopes up. I really enjoy Sam Roberts' podcast because
he's the man.
Because he builds these storylines with such heart and such hope and such want. And when he described the Lana storyline the way he wanted to see, everyone forgets about Lana. That's how she even won. They forgot about her. Not she was tricky. They forgot about her. And like just this like the resentment that's building up and the sadness and like, she keeps gonna get put through the fucking table again, where it's like, that made me be like, oh, right. So now I'm super into it. But if it just fades away and it's like, oh, you had the hot Instagram girl go through a table a bunch of times. Yeah. Now it seems like an awful fucking story. But if you actually do it right, and this leads to her, like, I don't know, challenge, like getting the belt, but it won't, it's not going to happen. Same with Retribution. Retribution could have been, I said this on your podcast, the week that the Hurt Business did a mini face turn, and then like Lee and McIntyre interrupted their match to flip out. Now it's like, okay, that could have led to Survivor Series. We have these heels and these baby faces teaming up to save the brand against these invaders. And then the next week you blow it with the draft. Yeah. And now it's all garbage and it means fucking nothing. And it's a joke.
Yeah, and I mean, I joked about it on Twitter last night, but like I would not be surprised knowing the WWE if this literally became like there's going to be a week where Lana doesn't go through the table and gets like and nobody cheers for her, so she just puts herself through the table. Like that's how stupid the WWE is. Like they're going to just start. They're going to like what? No one wants to put me through the table anymore. She just puts herself through the table, and everyone's going to be like,
"Oh, I can totally see that happening too."
Yeah, no, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Horrible.
Like because without going through the table, she has nothing really. To be totally honest,
I'll be so mad. I'll be so mad.
Well, moving on to something that didn't make any of us mad. I think it made us all very happy. This was awesome. We had the main event of the show: Jon Moxley defeating Eddie Kingston in an I Quit match. This was it wasn't brutal like past the point of like being uncomfortable in my opinion. There was some hardcore stuff, but like it wasn't as like sometimes you watch that stuff and it's like beyond the line to me where I'm like, okay, they're actually cutting themselves with pizza cutters and they're actually putting meat skewers into each other's foreheads. That's not there's no allusion to that.
Yeah.
This was just it made sense for the story. It was an I Quit match. You're doing anything you can to get the guy to quit. The finish happens when Moxley wraps Kingston's neck with barbed wire. Well, I think he wrapped his arm with barbed wire, and then he put Kingston in the bulldog choke.
Mm-hmm.
And Eddie Kingston just, he said it. He barely said it, but he said it. He said, I quit. And this was just I thought this was just awesome storytelling. Jamie, what were your thoughts on the match and Jon Moxley retaining?
Yeah, I mean, the build up to it was so good. Obviously, Eddie Kingston is a fucking star. And you know what's interesting? It started off this little build of his with a comedy bit. It was the cookie promo. I will go on record saying here that the rise of Eddie Kingston is due to the cookie promo. Something happened where people were like, what the fuck is this? What the fuck is this? And I don't think it was any coincidence that before that cookie promo or right after that cookie promo came these incredible promos against Moxley. It was great. It's so funny. I'm like covered in tattoos. I fight. I get cringy at like deathmatch, barbed wire, tack stuff. So I was definitely like looking at my phone a little bit. Shamefully, I will shamefully admit that. But I thought the match was great. It's good storytelling because I was actually sad Kingston didn't win. And that means they probably did it right? Like you always want them wanting more. And so that kind of did it for me. We're seeing, how heartbreaking when Moxley tried to shake his hand, right? And like try to help him up. And like Kingston, the way he walked out was like, oh, I've let my family down and I've wrestled for nothing. And I have no fucking idea where this goes. I have no idea where it goes. Where it certainly can't go is just like he's running a stable again and like, hey, now people know that he's good on the mic. Where I'm like, I think he has to stay a main player. I don't know where this goes. I wouldn't mind even seeing him walk from his stable. Like, I have no idea. I'm like very open to suggestion. And I just pray they do him right. Because I would have been incredibly happy to see him as the champion. But if this leads to better storytelling and him still going after it and eventually winning the belt, then fucking bravo.
Yeah, I'm going to throw in just a quick thought and then pass it to you, Jessi, for your full thoughts. I just want to throw this out there because you're like, where's it going to go and what's he going to do? I think, like I mentioned before, maybe we get him and Butcher and Blade versus the Death Triangle possibly in like the short term. But I do think Eddie Kingston and people, I feel like people already feel this way, but don't like quite fully realize it yet. Guess what, guys? Eddie Kingston's actually a babyface. Yeah. And he's gonna be a massive babyface for them. Like he's so fucking likable and believable and relatable that's his future. Is like it isn't him being the heel who can't get the job done.
Nope.
And like in like 6 months to a year from now, we're going to be talking about Kingston as like one of the most over baby faces in the business. I
mean, he has, and people are going to go, what? Did you see what he was wearing? He has what The Rock and Austin have, which is he has a way to be so passionately authentic, so relatable, while also being a wrestler, superhuman character, where whether he is this desperate man, someone posted this old Dusty Rhodes promo yesterday with our political situation in mind, where Dusty, who notoriously didn't really plan out, was like, I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for all the people who are fired from their jobs. I'm doing this for all the people who work 9 to 5. I'm doing this. Like, I forget the exact examples, but he's
was it the quote where he's talking about wine and dining with kings and queens, eating pork and beans type of stuff?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I don't even know.
Yeah.
But he was like, when I win this belt, I'm going to reach, you will be able to touch this belt through the TV. This is for you. And Kingston as a baby face, all of that angst that he was showing against Moxley, everything he sacrificed for the belt. Now you're right. That gets to be, hey, you guys are sacrificing, I'm sacrificing. And he has the same humor like The Rock and Austin. Is just, again, it's very quick, it's very authentic. It's not, the UFC fighter trying to clumsily be Conor McGregor. It's like,
you're talking about Colby.
The worst. Where's he gonna go now? Is he gonna go to Four Seasons Landscaping with Donald Trump? Where's he gonna go?
Oh, Colby? No, he's gonna become fucking BLM Colby. Yeah.
Can you imagine he comes out just like with the fucking Wakanda forever? Yeah, man. I want that to happen so much. Like, when you talk about the people's champ, I made a joke the other day when I'm like, how was The Rock the people's champ when none of us look like this guy? I'm like, you don't represent the people with that body. But Kingston can be that Dusty Rhodes. Like, I'm doing this for the people. I struggled. I was selling my wrestling boots this fucking year, last year, whatever it was, for money.
Literally, yeah.
Put the belt on that guy and absolute superstar, one of the best of all time, I think.
Yeah, Jesse, what are your thoughts on this one? What do you think about Moxley retaining the title, and then also, the future for Eddie Kingston?
I think Mox retaining was the right move, obviously, because the next challenger is Kenny Omega, and I feel like it just needs to go there. However, speaking of Mox versus Kenny, I feel like this Eddie Kingston match with Moxley, you know how Kenny and Mox had like the death match or whatever, and it was like good, but it wasn't like what you thought. This was like what we wanted that match to be, except with like obviously with Eddie Kingston. And I loved at the beginning the whole video package before with like the old school footage of them like in the ring together in a high school like gymnasium,
so good.
Going at it, just showing like how this blood went back deep, talking about my mama and all that stuff. I did the moment that I knew that Eddie Kingston was a babyface was when he sterilized John Moxley's thumbtack wounds. I thought that was
sterilized. He sterilized.
That was the best tweet of the night.
That was so sweet. I was like, oh my god, we are in a pandemic. Yeah. He's got open wounds all over.
The way you phrased that on Twitter was so good. The mark of a good comedian, people don't realize that. So much of it is just word choice. It's just word choice. It's being authentic and word choice. And when you said you didn't use babyface, when you said good guy Eddie Kingston, and I was just like, yes, it was perfect comedy writing. It was perfect comedy.
I missed the tweet. That's fucking hilarious, bro.
Good guy Eddie Kingston sterilizing John Moxley's wounds or whatever the fuck it was. So good.
Yes. That was, to me, I was like, oh, he is a baby face.
There it is.
Which is so, and I know, but this match was really good. And it was, I believe it was Eddie Kingston at first that was wrapping the barbed wire around his fist. And so when Mox did that to beat him, to get him to quit, I thought that was beautiful. I was like, a little touch.
Yep.
This was visceral. This wasn't like that death match with Kenny Omega where they were like dragging each other through glass, and it was just like, oh, make it stop. It was cringy, don't worry. Not like in a bad way cringy, but it made you wince. It was but I was still invested. It didn't take me out of the moment being disgusted.
Yeah.
Because I was into the story. I was really into what was happening, and the grossness of it, I guess, the gore part of it wasn't so extreme that I was being taken out of the moment. I just thought it was awesome. I love Eddie Kingston. And the moment that I really respected him was with his debut on AEW. When he walked out with no music, just a microphone, and just immediately started talking shit. And just owned the entire, he owned Daly's place.
Yeah.
Just by speaking. And at that moment, I knew this guy was special. And I know that you had seen, I mean, Steven knows Eddie Kingston because he watches all the independent wrestling. He always tells me who to look out for. And
hey, Jamie, I've been doing that with you too, though, lately, man. Over the collective weekend, you're asking me some recommendations. I'm willing to help out.
That's right.
Yeah. No. I popped for wanting to know more about like Kingston's backstory. He's just fucking fascinating,
dude. It was wild. Like my brother happened to be over there. Me and my brother don't live together. I talk about him like he's like always here, but he lives right up the street from me, so we're around each other a lot. And I was watching a show on independentwrestling.tv. I believe it was ICW was the company. I can't remember what company it was, but it was on independentwrestling.tv. He had just beaten a guy who's actually a friend of mine, Brett Eisen, a great independent wrestler out of the Nashville area. He had just beaten Brett Eisen literally in a backyard in a wrestling ring in front of like hardly any fans. He got on the microphone and he called out Cody that night. Like on the night, and he was like, I want to go after the TNT title. I want to go after the NWA title. If Nick Aldis is down, like, and he cut this promo. And what was so cool about it from like my brother's perspective and all this is like, he saw that because once again, there was like 20 fans in this backyard and Kingston's cutting this promo. And my brother was also over when he debuted on AEW. And my brother, once again, who isn't invested, was like, oh shit, this was the dude from the backyard. Like he actually got onto the show. Like,
whoa, fucking dope. That's so dope. Yeah. I, after the cookie promo, I dug into him and I watched, the interview he did with Aubrey and Shivani. And that's when he was talking about trying to sell his wrestling boots and stuff like that. I want to make, this is my idea for Eddie Kingston. If you're listening, for your pro wrestling t-shirt, it should be, give me the mic.
Nice.
Ooh,
a good one, right? When he says that, I get so excited. Give me a mic. Yes. Give me a mic.
Give this man a mic. I'll go get one myself.
He treats it like a fucking weapon. Like, and that's how you're a promo star. When you see the mic as a fucking weapon and not just something to like, you know, again, Dusty, Piper, like it is my fucking weapon. It's like, I don't even care what you do in the ring, but he's good. So hooray.
Yeah, amazing. Thought the match was great. Thought all of it was, I mean, it's just, yeah, there's just a guy like him. Like, it's so great to see a guy like him who literally wrestled for close to 20 years and the WWE never gave him the shot. And self-admittingly from himself, it's because of his physique. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Like, he's always had the mic skills. He's always been good in the ring, but his physique was always what was holding him back with the mainstream wrestling. Because I think kind of the mindset too is like when WWE went out and signed guys like Samoa Joe and Kevin Steen and that kind of stuff, it was like, well, we already have these guys who are already like proven worldwide stars. Like we'll just, you know, there was similar type builds.
They're big guy quota.
Exactly. And Kingston just getting this chance, just so awesome. And on top of it, during the match, I'm watching Kingston and Moxley wrestle each other. And I'm like, these guys, like, because here's the thing, like, I'm pretty numb to the thumbtacks. I'm pretty numb to the barbed wire. I've just seen this stuff so much. There's certain things that still really get me. Like, the skewers especially. I don't know if you've been seeing that. There's been a lot of wooden skewers on the indies lately where they're literally taking meat skewers and popping them in people's heads and they're just popping out.
I'm too busy right now. Imagine you telling a therapist, like, and she's like, why are you numb to people being thrown on the thumbtacks? And you're like, it's fine. It's all good.
Now, when they do the thumbtacks to the bare feet, that one gets me. I still I don't want to see that.
Well, you know why? It's because so your body doesn't know what falling onto a huge thing of thumbtacks is, right? But your body knows what stepping on like a rock feels like.
Like a Lego even.
Yeah. So so even being in the ring, the little amount that I have been in so far, I'm like, I watch these things. Like, to me, watching a back body drop is scarier than like some of these, like, jumping over the top rope spots. Cause I'm like, like I know what that,
yes.
Like, yeah.
And my point is, like, I'm pretty numb to a lot of this stuff, but it's still pretty brutal. And when I'm watching it, I remember being like, I turned to my buddy I was watching with, and I was like, dude, because he doesn't like any, like, he doesn't like seeing the thumbtacks or any of it. Like, it just isn't for him. And I turned to him and I was like, bro, you got to think about it this way. These two guys are having the time of their lives right now. Like,
that's a great way to put it.
Because this is why Moxley left the WWE. Like, he left not having to do any of this stuff so we could go back to doing this kind of stuff. Like,
fucking champion. What a hero. The hero we don't deserve.
So it makes me feel better about it, knowing that these guys are actually enjoying this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And after the match, I just want to throw this out there. After the match, Kingston did an interview with the media, like Fightful.com posted it live on YouTube while they were talking. And Moxley was glowing. This dude is sitting there in front of this camera. He got his big dip in. And when he's sitting there just doing his interview, just sitting back, just going, this, like, we didn't know what we were going to do on the show. The pandemic screwed up all the plans. I said, me and Kingston know each other for years. Give us both microphones. We'll sell it in a month. We sold it in a month. The match was ruled. Like, he knew that we knew we could both have a good match. Like, it's one of those things where Moxley seems so, and you'll understand this as for what you do, Jamie, with your profession and all that. Like, he seems so fulfilled in his art.
Yeah.
Over the weekend. And that's something he didn't get the entire time he was with the WWE.
How interesting is it that, and then, man, I so have to go. My manager's going to kill me. How interesting is that the two storylines that got the most attention over pandemic have been these relationships, have been Reigns and Uso. Yep. Obviously, they've known each other for a very long time.
Great story.
Right. And this one, where it was just like, hey, take two people who know and love each other and let them have at it. And like, oh man, like what we got out of both of those stories is it's been so good. I want to deep dive if you have any, or if any of the listeners want to tweet me or DM me on Instagram, any good old Kingston interviews. I'm like super inspired because I just made the decision today. I almost chickened out of going to Texas to train, to move there. And I'm doing it now. And so I'm like, I kind of want to deep dive if there are any really good Kingston interviews out there, like or even matches, like just to do some reconnaissance on the guy.
Dude, I'll give you a promo code for IWTV. It'll give you the service for, it's either a free full month or 2 months, and you can just jump on there and watch any match. He has a ton of matches on that platform.
Cool.
So you can watch it for free, check out as much of it as you want. Yeah, man.
Sick.
I know you got to bounce, Jamie. Me and Jessi will hang out for a minute to plug all our sponsors and stuff. Jamie, let everyone know where to find you and all that stuff before you get out of here.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you guys so much. This was a blast. You guys are, again, I said this in the beginning, two of my favorite people. Jessi, you got even more points. The fact that you tried to censor your cat's asshole, that was the highlight for me. Like the little blurred box, like that was so funny. So I have a podcast. It's called A Fuck Up's Guide to Self-Help. And people interested in wrestling, recently we've had Aubrey Edwards, we've had Diamond Dallas Page, Janela wants to do it. I kind of want to get Kingston on for this, but it's all about like pursuing crazy shit, being a weirdo, being a misfit, not fitting in, hence the name of Fuck Up's Guide to Self-Help. And then if you're a fighter, I have a fight podcast called Rear Naked Radio as well. I'm on Instagram. I make comedy sketches, but I also talk about mental health. You can see the one where Thunder Rosa slapped me. It's still up kind of towards the top. My Instagram is at the Jamie Kilstein. My Twitter is at Jamie Kilstein. To find all of this stuff, you can go to jamiekilstein.com or jamiekilsteinpodcast.com. Both will lead you to all the places. And then What else? Oh, I have an album coming out, my first stand-up album in like 8 years, called 25% Capacity. That'll be out December 4th, and then I'll be at the House of Comedy the last week of November as well in Phoenix, Arizona, if you happen to be in Phoenix.
Awesome stuff. Jamie, thanks again for coming on, man. Like,
this
is been awesome. And Jamie's got to go. He's big league. He's got a manager and all this stuff. So he's got to take care.
You guys are big league too, because I was supposed to call him an hour ago, and I did not. This poor guy found out yesterday. We were supposed to have this meeting yesterday, and I bailed yesterday because I couldn't stop crying about my cat who died in January. Aww. And like I just had this like it was awful. And instead of texting him I posted a funny Instagram story about how my manager has to deal with me on the phone call because I was trying to spiritually connect with my dead cat and sobbing. And then he just wrote me, he goes, "This is how I find out." And then and now I bailed for a wrestling podcast. Anyway, so you guys aren't big league. You guys and my cat are the reason. So we're all good.
No, I was just playing around, but I
was down wrestling. Yes.
wrestling. All right. I love you guys. I'll talk to you later.
All right. See you, Jamie. I'm gonna remove him from the chat here. Let's make sure. See you, Jamie. So I removed him from the chat. There we go. Perfect. Thanks again to Jamie for joining the show. That was a lot of fun, wasn't it, Jessi?
That was fun. So that's Jamie. If once I have his baby, see more of him. So.
Yeah. So if y'all like seeing Jamie on here, like Jessi just said, like we are actively making plans to make sure we're still getting you the live chats. And obviously, like, none of us in the chat, and not me, not anyone else, no one's obviously going to be like Jessi's kids are more important than the live chat. Like, just be honest. So
love you guys, but
so and understandably so. That, to be honest, I would get concerned if she was prioritizing our chats over her kids. Like, it wouldn't be cool with me. You know what I mean? So like, Jamie is who we pretty much have as the like the fallback plan if Jessi can't make it any week. So I hope y'all like Jamie. He's a guy that I get along with really well. I've been doing more podcasting with him, like personally lately, and he's just one of those guys that I think he's a good fit for what we do here. We might do some more three-person stuff in the future. My podcast, the Fight Talk podcast, where I upload all the audio for this show as well as my MMA show I do every Monday. My interviews with independent wrestlers and mixed martial artists. That's all on just search Fight Talk podcast on Google. I'm pretty sure it's the first thing that pops up. It's available on all feeds. And then that way too, like if for some reason you can't make it to a live chat, and if it's inconvenient, because some people, the main reason I upload these, the audio version, just so y'all know, is because for commuting, sometimes people they'll want to listen to a podcast or watch a show. And I know this from personal experience. They won't have an audio version, but they'll have a YouTube version. And it would require me to have the video playing in my car the entire time, which is going to drain my battery, which sometimes the audio just isn't as good, or it cuts out, or you have to deal with the ad breaks in between and you're trying to drive. And that way I put it up on audio and it's just one click. You just click it. You got the audio right in your ears or right into your radio or whatever you're listening from. So just try to make it as easy as humanly possible for everybody to enjoy the show. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll go through our sponsors here in just a second, but Jessi, is there anything you wanted to add or throw out there before we kind of wrap it up? There you go. You're good. Sorry, you were muted for a second. You're good now. You're muted again. Basically it. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if the cat walked on your mic or something. I don't know how that.
Can you hear me?
I can now. Yeah.
My headphones, because the other one died.
Oh, okay. Because it's kind of going in and out. Well, the good thing is, this is the end of the show anyways, y'all. I'm going to go through our sponsors real quick. Basically, I'm just going to start off with Music City Toys and Collectibles. They are the place to be for all, autographs, DVDs, wrestling memorabilia, everything you can think of. Music City Toys and Collectibles. They're nice people. They will give you fair business. I can't tell you how many times I've been looking for an action figure or an autograph 8x10 or something along those lines. I go on eBay, I see the price, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to swing that price or not. And then I go on Music City Toys and Collectibles. Sometimes they have the stuff listed already on their YouTube or Twitter, but also I can literally direct message them and be like, hey, do you have any WWF Just Toys Bendums in stock that you don't have on the page? And if he does, he'll just tell me how much they are and just mail them to me. I mean, it's super, super awesome to use, and they're super nice people. So once again, support them. They are Music City Toys and Collectibles. They can be found on all social media. Also, shout out to my brother, Brian Jensen. He is a professional boxing coach. He's an amateur boxing coach. He's a Parkinson's Foundation trainer, if you will. Basically, anything from all levels, whether you're looking to throw hands, get in better shape, lose a little bit of weight. Maybe you're honestly, I talk about the Parkinson's a lot because generally speaking, it's usually older people. I think my brother told me recently there was a study that came out where I think it's like 1 in 6 people over the age of 60 get Parkinson's now. I mean, it's like and the reason I bring that up is because, there's also plenty of people that get what's called early onset Parkinson's. And it'll be like, you could be my age. My brother deals with something called dystonia, which is very similar to Parkinson's. And he showed symptoms from the time he was around 10 years old. I mean, this affects a large range of people. And what a lot of people don't realize is, and I know this is basically a big commercial for my brother, but it really is like, this can really help a lot of people. And he doesn't charge much, by the way. He's in comparison to anyone else who does the stuff he does, he is by far the cheapest, and gives you and he's an expert in these fields. Like, there are exercises people can do that have no Parkinson's symptoms whatsoever that actually help prevent the chances of them getting Parkinson's once they turn 60 or older. So there's dexterity stuff, even as small as doing these kind of moves, just enough times a day. You'd never think about it, but that might be helping your life 30, 40, 50 years from now. So Brian can help you with that stuff. He can meet you in person in the Atlanta, Georgia area. He owns a gym. He will meet you at your business, at your own residence, your home. He'll meet you in a public park. I mean, whatever you're most comfortable with, he will help you reach your goals or help you with your neurological issues, whatever it is. Like, once again, even if you just want to try to lose, you got a goal for 2021, you want to lose 15 pounds or whatever, Brian will help you do that. If you're not in the Atlanta, Georgia area, he can help you online. He'll set up a Zoom call, a whole schedule for you. He'll help pick out the right kind of foods to eat. Like, he can basically life coach you from anywhere in the world. He's a very reliable person. I'm obviously biased. He's my best friend in the world, and he does amazing, amazing stuff for people. And the reason I'm so adamant about it when I talk about this is because if you tell him, like, just hit him up on Instagram, it's Boxing ATL, BOXING ATL. If you hit him up and you say, hey, your brother sent me to you, he's going to give you such a good deal. Like, I promise you. So it's just one of those things where it's like, it'll be such a good deal. It'll be such a good deal. I promise you. So anyways, that's Brian Jensen. Just check him out on Instagram at Boxing ATL. Shoot him a follow at the very least, and just check out the stuff that he does, because it might be able to help you. I also I kid you not, I have a friend named Amanda. Her name's Amanda. I won't say her last name just for security reasons, but her name's Amanda. I've known her since I was probably 13 years old, and she's my age. She's 32. And a couple of years ago, she was diagnosed with MS. And that's more common than people think. Mm-hmm. And she saw my brother posting things on Instagram, and her grandmother deals with Parkinson's. And she was like, this is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. Like, I did not know your brother was doing this. Like, I need to follow up and find out, like, this can help me. This can help my grandma. This can help all their friends. Like, so anyways, I know this has been a long ad for him, but it's one of those things that it's very close to my heart, because it's stuff that I also deal with to a degree. I mean, it's just, so Brian, Boxing ATL, check him out. And last but never least, WrestleRumble.com. They are the place to be for fantasy pick'em contests for professional wrestling. right now there is another raffle going where for $1 entries, I kid you not, for $1, someone is going to win. Now there's 4 different prizes for 4 different winners. Someone's going to get an AEW replica title. Someone's going to get an NXT, the original NXT title with a big X on it. Someone's going to get the original ECW world title, and someone's going to get the National Wrestling Alliance World Heavyweight Championship, the belt that they still use. So hypothetically speaking, for $4, you could potentially win all 4 of those belts. Each belt is worth like $400 a piece. I mean, it's like such an awesome prize. And I think they're going to be doing an actual pick'em contest for Survivor Series. So stay up to date with all this stuff at WrestleRumble.com and also on Twitter at WrestleRumble. The prizes will be announced on the Solid Monsters YouTube live stream following Survivor Series. So he does a live review, goes through the matches, and then goes on random.org, plugs everyone's name in, all thousands of the people that do these entries. And you see it right there. It's not fugazi. There's no shenanigans. It's literally, these are the people who bought entries. Here's the button. You click the button, a name pops up, and they win a championship belt. Awesome stuff. So once again, WrestleRumble.com. And along with all the sponsors I mentioned before, just like I talked about with my brother, if you mention me and Jesse sent you to these sponsors, you're going to get a really good deal. I promise. So support them because they support us. You can follow me on Twitter at FightTalk_. That's FIGHTTALK_. My MMA videos are over on All Things MMA. I'm writing for them now as well. I'm editing and writing, so doing more stuff for them. And yeah, I try to just keep everything updated on my Twitter, and of course, support Fightful.com. I do their Fightful Select Weekender podcast, talking independent wrestling every Sunday. So if you enjoy this, you'll probably enjoy that also. Jesse's cat is just all over the place. That's everything I've got. Normally I'd pull Jesse's information up. I just don't have the ability with the way we have the stream set up today. But Jesse, please make sure to let everyone know how to support our podcast, what to do with our podcast, and everything that you have going on for yourself.
Well, obviously, please, if you like what you see, give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us with the algorithm. We love our chat. We love a thumbs up. We love a good thumbs up on our videos. It lets YouTube know to send this out to other like-minded people. And it also lets them know that, hey, this might be something you might want to watch, and maybe we can get more people in this chat. We love our chat. We appreciate you guys so much. Those super chats, those Streamlabs tips, those mean the world to us. Thank you so much. Obviously, if you like what you see and you think that you want to see more of this, you want to get notified whenever we go live again, please just consider subscribing to the channel. It would really mean a lot to us. And plus, you would be able to see these videos after we go live. So say you missed the video live, you can always just go back and watch it again. You can watch it, skip through, see if we made any points about any matches that you want. And then obviously,
can we peek inside your box?
What box?
The one that you got.
In a little bit. I'm almost done, okay?
Can we just peek inside?
Okay, we'll just hold on a second. And then obviously you can subscribe to my OnlyFans, onlyfans.com/Jessi the Buckeye, JESSITHEBUCKEYE. That is the best way to support me directly, other than the YouTube channel. It's the best way to get me to help me support me and my family that is growing by. Yeah, they can't see them.
Getting exciting. The time is close.
Yes, I know. I'm in the 3rd trimester tomorrow officially, so.
That's awesome. It's wild that it's been that fast, because I know that you got pregnant around the time we started this show, and it's kind of wild to think it's already been almost 9 months since we started. It's probably been around 9 or 10 months since we started the show. And we've done over 50 episodes easy at this point. So it's wild because I feel like we just started it. And I appreciate the community so much. Y'all who come here and listen to the audio version and all that. And Scarlett.
I hope you like it. Me and my family. So here she is. Do it, Mom.
Do what? Make sure you like this video.
Tell us
Yes. What should they do if they want to watch our YouTube channel?
Watch it.
And do what?
And like it.
And do what?
And
like and what else is?
see it.
See it. So Subscribe.
Subscribe.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Do it,
follow
Scarlett.
both of us. Yes. So Jessi the Buckeye on OnlyFans. Jessi
And
Buckeye on
me
Twitter.
and my family talk more.
Talk more. Okay. Yeah, those are the best way. If you go.
And here I am. Pretending said,
I'm not
introducing.
pretending right now, but yeah, those are the best ways.
Cool. Well, that's gonna do it for the show today.
Yeah.
We'll probably
What
be
a
back.
little baby doll. Name's Scarlett. Do that. Do that
Yep.
one. Just do it.
Do what?
Say introducing a beautiful daughter named Scarlett. Do it.
Introducing my beautiful daughter named Scarlett.
Hi. I look good like that. And it's hello with you. And don't forget, I'll paint you at the end, but it's already time to get started. But paint.
All right, so it's time to go. So yeah.
Paint.
Well, I don't know when we'll be back.
I'm trying to paint.
I don't know when we'll be back next. I'm guessing probably. I don't know if you're busy later this week. We can do a Thursday. If not, we'll probably do again next Tuesday. I'm guessing. Probably something like that.
Tuesday sounds good. I'll see what my schedule is. I'm not quite sure. It depends on what's going on with my husband. So.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you all for joining the chat. Cool King, I see you in there. Magi27, I still see in there. Thank y'all for supporting the show. We're gonna let Jessi get back on mommy duty now. So we're out of here. See y'all later. We'll see y'all either later this week or sometime next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.